across the quiet fields where the snow begins to fall. A silent question echoes down each and every hall. From the Atlantic shore to the Pacific's wide embrace, we look into the distance, searching every space. Maple trees stand watching in colors red and gold, for little hands to hold on to, for stories to be told. Where are all the children in Canada tonight? Underneath the northern lights, hidden from our sight, we keep a candle burning, a constant, faithful glow, hoping that they feel the love where the cold winds blow. Be safe, little one, wherever you may be. The heroes that you need are hoping to set you free. We trace the river valleys, we climb the mountains high, sending up a whisper to the vast and endless sky. A drawing left unfinished, a favorite teddy bear, gentle reminder stabbed, hanging in the air. A parent's heart is aching, refusing to give in, praying for the day when the searching finally ends and they can hold them again. Where are all the children in Canada tonight? Underneath the northern lights, hidden from our sight, we keep a candle burning, a constant, faithful glow, hoping that they feel the love where the cold winds blow. Be safe, little one, wherever you may be. The heroes that you need are hoping to set you free. Does the silence feel too heavy? Do the shadows look too deep? Remember all the promises the family meant to keep. We are looking, we are trying, across this spacious land. We need strong hands to help us. We need everyone to stand. Where are all the children in Canada tonight? Underneath the northern lights, hidden from our sight, we keep a candle burning, a constant, faithful glow, hoping that they feel the love where the cold winds blow. Be safe, little one, wherever you may be. The heroes that you need are coming, waiting to set you free. To the parents waiting by the phone, you are not in this alone. Bring them home, bring them home. Let our heroes rise. His grandma was watching him boots planted. Creek searched, no neighborhood were checked. No cameras were looked at. No geofencing used. His grandma just turned around for 18 seconds and then little Dylan went poof. Truro police looked for 6 days. Why weren't the planted boots checked for fingerprints? Or even DNA? Dylan's mom don't speak to her mom anymore. Was it traffickers? Or did neglected to check all avenues because they choose to check the easiest thing was the body of water? He is still missing. Does he wonder if his family is looking? Does he still remember his daddy's voice? Does he cry at night when it's dark and scary? Why cannot Canada do better by the children? They need heroes to come along and bring this children back. They need their parents to hold them tight. Stand up, Truro. And the RCMP, throw those guilty, sick members of your offices and government out the damn door. Our children need a hero. Let it be you!
Welcome in, everybody. That's a killer song, isn't it? Donna, Miss Donna, not here yet this morning. She wrote that song. And yeah, it's definitely a sad tearjerker. So welcome in, everybody. Let me say hi to everybody. And that it is beautiful, Happy Turtle. Donna created that song. Love her. She did intros for several channels, actually. She's also a mod on Kind Time Buzz. I know she did hers. It's a tearjerker. It absolutely is. Welcome in, Violet Boland. I hope Lily and Jack know they're loved. I just wish they felt it before. I know. I channeled Lily this morning, y'all. Diana Richards. Krista, are you here, honey? I thought I saw you. Violet said hi, YouTuber. Nice to see you, honey. Betty, nice to see you. Darlene, nice to see you. Carla, nice to see you again, honey. And Michelle, nice to see you. Hey, Krista, sweetie, I thought I saw you. I don't know. You're not working yet, I don't think. Okay, you're not back. You're still on your holidays. Yeah, so I took Krista's advice. And I'm going to put that on the other channel. I took some notes from my session with Lily this morning. Pretty eye-opening. Pretty interesting. Perfect, Anne. Hey, Violet. I'm feeling a little better. I took Ryder for a walk and ran out of lung capacity, so I had to come back. But I'm feeling better. Hey, Anne, being that you're another psychic medium, tell me how you feel about this. I know I said I was going to separate it, and I could do this on the new channel. Let me know, anybody here. There's 28 of you here. I know a lot of you are not into the psychic stuff. If you want to hear what I channeled from Lily this morning, put a 1. I would be bawling my eyes out. I know, honey. I know. Put a 1 if you want to hear what I channeled this morning. Because I don't normally do that, like I said. And if you want to go see it on the other channel, then I'll put it on the other channel. I didn't put it on. Okay, and I want you to tap in, honey. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I got. And can you tap in and tell me? Okay. Something that I hadn't considered came through. I'm getting, when I got from Lily, I'm getting resistance like I did Sebastian. Almost like a protective, I know, honey, I know. Well, I started it. It's up here. I will put it up there after as well. And I will put this up there after as well. If anybody wants to subscribe, because I'm trying to separate the two. But I had no idea that Lily was going to come in the other day. And so, I was trying to, excuse me, my stomach is just a little off. Was trying to separate it. So I will be separating it because not everybody wants to listen to psychic stuff. But okay. And I'm still trying to piece together how it functions in the narrative. Okay. And it's piecemealed. It's not like I didn't channel her like when she came in and she's talking. I went through my guides. So I'm not hearing her clearly, but this like I would as a medium. Okay. So there's different ways. Logging a little, or maybe it's my Wi-Fi. Am I lagging? Huh, I don't know, honey. Okay, so Anne, tell me what you get here, because Anne, I know Anne's another psychic medium here, and I get lots of emails from psychic mediums, trust me. And I've invited lots of them up, and they don't want to come up with me. So I don't know why. Excuse me, I'm not sure why, but I put the date January 3rd, 2026, channeling Lily. I tapped in to ask my guides for some help. And the first thing I hear, let me blow my nose first. Sorry, Al. So I don't have to do this until I'm done reading. So I tap in, and the first thing I hear is, he's not my dad. And that was from my guides, like a message from Lily. And I'm asking, who are we talking about? And what is this in reference to? I assumed she was talking about Daniel not being her dad, but the answer was, the man who took me. He's not my dad. The man who took me, he's not my dad. Because this, I think, is in response to yesterday when I was questioning, was this Cody? Right? Was this Cody? Getting goosebumps. Thank you. That's my validation. This is Lily upset, okay, that there was a suggestion from me that it might have been Cody. Just making that very clear. Not my dad. Okay, here's where it gets cryptic and very, very different than where I was going in this case. So I said, is the man that took you DM? No, as in Daniel Martel. I asked, who took you then? Fully expecting to get a name. What I get back? Casey Anthony. To look into Casey Anthony. So I pause and I Google the death of Casey Anthony. Or Kaylee Anthony, rather. But Casey Anthony comes up. When I Google Casey Anthony, hang on. Can I even show you? Because I got this stupid screen. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm sure you believe me. When I Google Casey Anthony, I get the death of Kaylee Anthony. Yeah, Lily feels betrayed. Yeah. So long for her to come forward. I think she's also feeling, you tell me if you're picking this up, Anne, nervous about ratting out somebody. I got that from Sebastian with his mom all the time. But I read this, and here's what I got from it intuitively. Anne, tell me what you're picking up. I'm going to read it. Yeah. Cindy. Cindy's the voice that woke Lily up that I heard. Yep. Kaylee Marie Anthony was an American toddler who lived in Orlando, Florida with her mother, Casey Marie Anthony, and her maternal grandparents, George and Cindy Anthony. Cindy. So I get a hit on the name Cindy because this is how psychics work, right? You can read the blurb, but what am I getting the hit on? I'm getting the hit on the name Cindy. So I ask, Cindy was the one who woke you up. And I get a very clear yes. Yes. Then I ask, did Cindy have you removed from the house? Okay, this is where it gets. Okay. Did Cindy have you removed from the house? I get not a yes or a no. I get go. Cindy's Malaya's mom. Cindy is Malaya's mom. Did Cindy have you removed from the house? I don't get a yes or a no. I get go left, go right, go left, go right. That's what I hear. I ask, who's that? Wait for it. Wait for it. Who's telling you to go left and go right? My mom. My mom. Then Ryder started barking and I lost the connection. Yeah. Yeah. And can you tap in and tell me, because I got a cold, as y'all know. Do you align with this? Are you picking this up? Take your time. Take your time. Did Cindy and Malaya plan this with Jordan? Did Cindy and Malaya plan this with Jordan? Did Jordan help out? Because I know I saw Jordan. I haven't got that far with her yet. I don't understand. What does the left and the right mean? It's when whoever was taking them in the bush, go left, go right, go left, go right. I said, who's telling them that? My mom. Do I think Malaya was literally in the bush with them? No, because I had a vision. But I'm wondering if there was a planning ahead of time. I don't know. I'm waiting to see if I can see Anne. Hang on, let me blow my. Yeah, so I don't know, Anne, if you get any hits on that, but I'm going to keep exploring that avenue. I started to wonder briefly, did Daniel and Malaya plan this with Derwood and, like, why? Was there a plan to remove the kids by Malaya and Cindy that went afoul that Daniel got a hold of? I'm trying to figure that out. And did you get any hits? Let me know. If you're not getting any hits, just let me know. No hits. That's fine. But yeah. So I am going to, good morning, Deanna, honey. I don't get Cindy, but I could be wrong. When I ask spirit questions, I get a full-on heart expansion that confirms, and I don't get that. What do you mean, honey, when you ask spirit questions? You're not getting Cindy? Okay. I don't know. Okay. I don't know what that means. Anyways, I'm going to keep going. Hey, Deanna, nice to see you, honey. Joyful, nice to see you. I'm gonna keep going on this because I wanna, like we're doing a little bit today, I wanna start this case over, um, from the beginning and see if we can glean any new information, from, what we're gonna whatever. So, anyways, so what I thought I would start with today, first of all, yesterday, regrettably, we did a live on, the little missing Jonathan bully, right, from Alabama. Hang on a second. Gotta love Cold Central. Um, and when I asked, my heart lights up, it feels warm to confirm. It's no, I feel no connection, if that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Casey Anthony's what I heard, so I don't really know. I'm gonna keep doing digging, but I just wanted to let you know, I'm gonna put that stuff on the other channel. I'm starting to do uh, a little more I'm gonna start doing a little more intentional channeling and see. But here, let's get the update on, the little 4-year-old that Jonathan Bully covered yesterday. I don't know if you heard, he was found deceased within a couple hours of our live stream yesterday.
Help.
Pretty sad.
I need your help to try to bring John home.
Oh,
Okay. There's some information that I want to give.
sorry. Jesus. Uh, he's passed away. Yeah, I know. He passed away. I was gonna cover that, but, does it maybe we won't need to. I pulled up the wrong live. Jesus, Leanne. Oh, sorry, everybody. Daniel is so confident about there's more to this than meets the eye. I'm worried you may not be the one. You may not be the one we should be looking at. I'm worried that he may not be the one. Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot more to this case than meets the eye too. I really do. But okay. So let's get into, I did want to cover, that article, but of missing, Jonathan. Um, but let's just, found dead. I'll just read the article, okay? Or show you this one. We don't need to, listen to a long. It's sad. It's really, really sad that, that was the outcome. And it's concerning because I don't know, like, I guess it bothers me, that they found him just outside the original. I know, no, I don't, YouTuber. I don't have antibiotics. I will meditate and see what comes to me. I have a different perspective on the events of that night and morning, but I don't need to be right. Listen, Ann, none of us are gonna get 100% of the picture, right? You might get little bits and I get little bits, and I know. That's why you have to be careful when you channel to trust you're getting it from the right source, right? Okay, so let's watch this for a second. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. What they had done was I listened, Lemon and Hunky Water, yeah. I listened to somebody that was there following, trying to search for the kids and following the search. And thank you, Joyful. And he said that this was the first day they expanded the search out and found him immediately, pretty much on the first group to expand the search parameter out found him almost immediately, and the dog is alive, and the dog was with him. The dog stayed with him. I don't know why the dog didn't bark with the drones and everything. It's pretty sad, but anyways, let's listen up. Love of God. I don't know what that article is about, why they're, but anyway, I'll read it. So the Alabama police on Friday announced that the death of the 4-year-old boy who had been missing since Wednesday. Jonathan Everett Bully was found about 2 miles away from his father's home in Walker County with his dog, Buck, who is alive, according to the police. Bully was first reported missing Wednesday and was described as having blonde hair, being 4 feet tall, weighing 50 pounds, and believed to be in danger, according to the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency. Sweet little kid. He was last seen around 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday at the 7,000 block of Highway 195 in Jasper, wearing a yellow Mickey Mouse shirt, black pants, Paw Patrol shoes, the alert noted. Smith noted that the search for Bully covered more than 500 acres using a helicopter, drones, 161 volunteers, 126 first responders, and multiple police dogs. Bully's parents are separated, and he disappeared while visiting his father in Alabama, who used to be in the military and has 5 visitation days per year, Walker County Sheriff Nick Smith said that at the press conference. Bully's mother arrived in Alabama from Florida on Wednesday to get him on Thursday, according to the ABC Alabama affiliate WBMA. She is cooperating fully with authorities, Smith noted at the press conference. So sad. So sad. Hang on. This might be a brutally long live at this rate. Okay. So, anyways, I thought I would cover one little bit about going back to the beginning, because I just this morning saw a few videos that I thought were relevant to this case that we would watch. Haven't yet, and I don't know when I'm going to have time to really go back and do a lot of the screenshots and piecemealing and everything of the statements from the family. And honestly, I don't know how much value it's going to bring, because nothing that Janie or Daniel or Durwood has said, I mean, I can go back and look at their statements, but I'm just not sure anything they said can be trusted as reliable, you know? So we're going to watch 4 videos today. And first, we're going to start with the various, which I thought was very interesting, interpretations of the last Globe and Mail's update. I thought the update was very positive. I thought the update was very positive. Krista, and you probably know this now because you're a mod for Mike Demand, but Mike does not feel that the RCMP's newest report is positive. So let's listen in to his assessment.
Thank you to all of those who have sent me this particular article, because I appreciate you keeping me in the loop. The reason I have not gotten into it, because I scanned over it and didn't really see what's interesting about it. Now, it's interesting, of course, that they want to publish this right now. And I think the reason is that people want some answers, but the lack of real information tells me they don't have anything. So I always have this part of me that refuses to support what I consider to be partially propaganda. However, I do pay attention to what others pay attention to. That's something that is important to me, simply because otherwise I cannot really see where the movement is. So in this particular article, they have this guy, and then the question is how to, well, they're telling us what the question is. Great. Remember the articles that we have seen before where they have picked parts of a police document. You know, again, this is what happens when you have controlled media. And everything is kind of strategy, right? People want to know about the case, but they're not really giving us anything. So the illusion of news is sort of what is often created in order to keep the public at bay. This is not a file that just sits at work. Really? This is not a file that just sits at work. He is just sitting at work. This is coming to his mind. Look at the language here. Just sits at work. I believe that's exactly what the RCMP, and this is just my opinion, that's exactly what they're doing. They're just sitting around. And you pick it up in the morning. Yep, you see, he is trying to deny something that is on his mind because that is his everyday life right now. This is Staff Sergeant McCannon. Everything I'm stating is only my own thought. You've got two very vulnerable people who perhaps were in some difficult circumstances and they've gone missing. How much more vague can somebody get? We need answers as to, look, they're telling us everything that's on the public's mind. We want answers. So this is kind of like saying, I understand your pain. I understand your frustration. This is almost like a customer service representative taking a call and not having a solution, but wanting to make you feel like, hey, just have faith in us. We're going to do it. Don't complain. Don't talk bad about our company. Don't tell the public police is not doing their job. None of this. This is really, do I have to explain this? I think it should be obvious to you.
Okay. So what I did this morning, and I want to just be really clear. Hey, Crime Science Stories. It's nice to see you. He has good points. I know. Do you have a channel, honey? Nice to see you. Do you have a channel? He does make good points. That's why I wanted to start here. So we're going back to the beginning of Jack and Lilly, but at the same time, I'm not going to get behind the current stuff because there's going to be no way to get caught up. To get caught up. Feeling duped by everybody in this case if it's true. I know. So I wanted to play two comparative analysis. I felt positive about it, but that's my opinion. Mike DeMann is, a language specialist, and he doesn't feel positive, as you can hear. We're going to listen to a few more minutes of it, and then I'm going to play Hidden in the Fog. Susan, I think is her name. Apologies if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Susan's. You don't anymore, honey? You don't anymore? How come? Susan, because she's a journalist, and so she's used to dealing with statements made by officials. And so, yeah, let's listen in. I want to compare the two views. Somebody who's an experienced, longtime journalist who knows how the media puts together articles versus Mike DeMann. And let's see what we come up with here. But Mike's not positive about this at all.
You guys, right? The reason I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to understand why there are certain subjects and certain articles I jump on immediately and why I ignore others. So let me skip right to the last part. We have to consider whether charges will be laid eventually. So we have to maintain the rule of law and follow the rules that are there. It does take time, and it is going to take some more time, he said. So I
Hey,
thought
Donna,
that wasn't
honey.
a criminal case. This is telling us that, in fact, this is a criminal investigation, in my opinion. Absolutely. But you see, I have a very hard time entertaining these kinds of double talks because I either A, ignore it, or I get straight into it all the way. Meaning, when I analyze, I don't hold back. I don't stop somewhere and say, okay, I can go this far and no further.
Hey, Hope, honey.
We won't stop until we have answers. You see, he is not promising to solve the case. What he wants is them to have answers. But he's also telling us right before that, we have to consider whether charges, blah, blah, blah. So we have to maintain the rule of law and follow the rules. He is telling us a reason why the case may never get solved. And I do not believe it ever will be solved. And he is not expressing any confidence that it's ever going to be. So rather than making promises, he's actually doing the opposite. It does take time in general, and it is going to take some more time. He is already telling you, don't expect anything from us.
Thanks, Donna.
It doesn't matter if you apply plaids to suspects in a criminal case or if you apply it to law enforcement officers making an official statement. Plaids is my system. I'm Mike the Man, and I've developed it to make statement analysis available to everybody in everyday life so that you don't waste your time and that you don't get too excited when there's something that may be perceived as a promise of action, but in reality is only an excuse for upcoming delays.
Wow. It's only an excuse for upcoming delays. Tell me how you feel about that before we listen to Laurie Green, a detective, saying hopes to solve a case before his retirement. I didn't hear the retirement piece. I don't agree that this case will never be solved. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. You know, what was I saying before this article came out? What was I saying before this article came out? That I don't think the case is going to be solved. That I don't think the case is going to be solved. And then this article comes out. I didn't really sit with it and tap in. I just assumed it to be authentic and legit. I read it a little bit differently than Mike, but I'm not a language specialist, but I read it a little bit differently. I read it, and we're going to listen to Hidden in the Fog for a second. I interpret it to mean as much as they can say without saying it. We went down a new course of investigation, and we're now finding things, and we're on a new track. We're going to listen to Hidden in the Fog here because she's also, like I said, experienced, and I want to just see someone else's perspective. We're going to go into, after this, we're going to go into other videos, other discussions, so not to worry. But yeah. Okay, sorry, hang on. Oh my God, my cold is just something else. Okay, let's watch this. What is everybody saying first? In my opinion, hard to pin anything on anyone without bodies. Yeah, I know. You're correct. Thank you, Carla. Yeah. Thank you, honey. Yeah, I don't know, man. Let's compare the two and then we'll talk about it. Let's compare the two and then we'll talk about it. This is Susan's assessment of it. Ugh. Because you got two different experts in two different fields completely. Susan was a journalist for, I think 20 some years, if I'm not mistaken, like very serious, high level journalist. So let's listen to her opinion of it.
Thank you to all of those.
My God. You can tell I'm sick. Can you tell I'm sick? Copying and pasting. Hang on.
Staff
Pulling up the wrong one. Are criminal charges coming? Is that the one? Jesus, Leanne.
Sergeant Rob McCammon, acting officer in charge of major crime and behavioral science with the Nova Scotia RCMP, says the investigation into the disappearance of Jack and Lilly Sullivan is being carried out with the expectation it could ultimately result in criminal charges. A reality, he says, helps explain why the case has taken so long to resolve. Speaking in a recent interview with the Globe and Mail, McCammon emphasized that investigators must proceed carefully to protect the integrity of any future prosecution. The Globe's reporting also revealed that a provincial child protection social worker, CPS, had visited the children's home to investigate a report of suspected abuse or neglect. Staff Sergeant McCammon, speaking on that specifically, told the Globe and Mail that police interviewed that social worker involved with Jack and Lilly and others with valuable information about the children's circumstances. McCammon told the Globe and Mail, "We have looked into their movements in the days prior and the kind of things that were going on in their lives. That is part of our investigative inquiry," he said.
They have never treated it as a criminal investigation, although their major crimes unit is involved, which is very interesting. The RCMP doesn't really explain why, and I think that leads the public to be very suspicious as well.
This is a case that has puzzled many on many levels. The one level is the fact that police still to this day, January 2nd being 8 months since Jack and Lilly Sullivan disappeared, that this case is still classified a missing person investigation. However, major crime has been involved from the very beginning. That has been a puzzling question since the inception of this case, when Rob McCammon first made an appearance on May the 7th. Chief Superintendent of the RCMP came out last week and in an interview with the National Post stated that of the 7 people who were provided with a polygraph examination, all 7, his words were not lying. Global News shared a little bit of their insight into stepfather Daniel Martel back when the children first went missing and they were covering the story.
It's rare, I think, to see a parent go through losing their children. And when it happens, a lot of the time they're in shock. And Daniel was no different than that.
So the question remains, are the police any closer? According to Rob McCammon, the police are proceeding. This case is proceeding. It has not come to a standstill. And he has stated that this case will be solved. Lilly and Jack Sullivan were reported missing by their mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, on the morning of May the 2nd. The 911 call was received by the RCMP at approximately 10 a.m. It was stated at that time in a press conference with Brooks Murray on the day they went missing that the children were believed to have slipped out the sliding glass door of the trailer where the family were living at the time. The family lived in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, Canada. It's a very sparsely populated area, and the trailer is surrounded by very dense woodland, and the search was hampered and extremely difficult due to the deadfall of the trees from past hurricanes. This has been among the largest searches in the history of the province of Nova Scotia. It has accumulated 12,000 search hours, as well as covered 40 kilometers over the span of the 8 months. There were the initial searches by ground search and rescue, helicopter. They have had scent dogs. They have had cadaver dogs. There has been little to no evidence that police have shared that has ever been found of Jack and Lilly.
I felt like it was important to ask Mr. Martel if he had anything to do with the disappearance of Lily and Jack. I asked it outright.
I 100% did not, and I will hold that till my last day on this planet.
I think I'm left with the same questions as everyone else in this case. Like, what happened to them? We know that they disappeared, but we don't know how. The assumption is that they're dead. Will we ever get answers to what happened to them?
Staff Sergeant.
So Susan doesn't really. Sorry, everybody. I can see all your comments about my cough. I have a tendency to get bronchitis, but it's not feeling like it's bronchitis. But let's go in and check in and see what some of you guys have to say before we move to the next topic. But what is very interesting is I was about to play another video because the Globe and Mail did 2 end of the year reviews. The first one that came out, I talked about. I said, like, they're talking about it like the case is over. Like, by 2025, one of the hardest cases they had to try to solve was Jack and Lilly. And they talk about it like it's like basically the case is over. And then they follow that up with a second interview I didn't play here, which is the very part of the clip at the end that Susan showed. Did y'all see that? It was like 2 days later. Excuse me. Sorry, everybody. After my comment about, it sounds like they're saying, closing the file, closing the case. And I didn't get a chance to read that yet because then comes out the Globe and Mail article. So it's almost like McMahon, and the other guy are not in alignment because it's like 2 different storylines here. I don't know if you saw that second Globe and Mail or that second interview, but Jack and Lilly, I think it was the Globe and Mail. Let's try to pull it up because it's so different. Global News. Let's see, Jack and Lilly. Six days ago. 6 days ago. Did you see this one? Let's show it. This isn't going to end how we want it to, Global News. 6 days ago. Let me just credit them. And we'll play this because it's not, it sounds more like, Mike's attitude towards it. And I'm trying, excuse me. Oh, shit. Sorry, everybody. I might have to cut this one a little bit short. We'll see how I do. I'm trying to remain positive, and maybe that's why I blindly, trust what he has come out to say. But this was said 6 days ago before his report. Okay, let's listen in.
120 people are currently searching the woods behind me here near Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station, continuing the search for 2 children who went missing in the area on Friday morning.
There was, well over 100 people there at that time, right off the bat, the first weekend doing the searches.
We are going to keep searching. That's our job right now, and no one's stopping. We have lots of.
So this was a clip, an update that they did 6 days ago, but the video footage is from at the time the kids disappeared. So it's Global News giving us an update, and the title of the video is "This Isn't Going to End How We Want It to." Over 7 months since Nova Scotia siblings went missing.
Officers here on the scene that are parents themselves, and we can certainly feel for this family, and our priority is to bring these kids home safe.
The thing that strikes you most about Lansdowne Station and kind of that part of Nova Scotia when you go there are two things. One, it's very dense woods, very dense, thick woods. It's very remote. Two, there's no cell signal. So communications in the traditional sense are limited. You have to find alternatives.
We knew a presser was
Thank
coming
you.
up, and that morning driving down, I thought it's one of two things. They found something, which will be a huge deal, or they're calling off the search.
As of today, May 7th, the active search efforts to locate Lily and Jack will be scaled back.
We asked the question, what are the chances that these kids are alive? And Staff Sergeant Robert McCammon kind of gave us the first inkling that this isn't going to end how we want it to.
Based on the experts and the review of the facts, the inclement weather, the time frames, and their age, the likelihood that they're alive right now is very low.
It's rare, I think, to see a parent go through losing their children. And when it happens, a lot of the time they're in shock. And Daniel was no different than that.
I was the head of the helicopters and head of the drones and stuff like that. Screaming as loud as I can. Just until my throat hurt. Running through water that was up to my waist. And as soon as I got back, I wasn't allowed back in the woods until a man dressed in military outfit said I could go back into the woods.
Oh God, please, Danielle.
To ask Mr. Martel if he had anything to do with the
I'd love to know if she felt his fake crocodile tears like we just heard. Let's just rewind that. Because that is the most pitiful attempt to display crying that I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know, man. Let's watch that again.
A man dressed in military outfit said I could go back into the woods.
Do you feel? Oh, I definitely believe he was upset about something in this. It's like, yeah, but saving his, sorry, you're not feeling a slippery elm tea has helped me. Thank you. Yeah, Ryder got dropped off yesterday, and my daughter dropped off a care package of Neocitrin and Halls and Mucinex, which I already have here for, but I don't think it's bronchitis. I'm so familiar with bronchitis. He's sucking in air like he's breathing out. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I can feel energy, and I don't feel any genuineness in that cry. I'm just telling you, I don't.
I felt like it was important to ask Mr. Martel if he had anything to do with the disappearance of Lily and Jack. I asked it outright.
I 100% did not. And I will hold that till my last day on this planet.
They have never treated it as a criminal investigation, although their major crimes unit is involved, which is very interesting. The RCMP doesn't really explain why, and I think that leads the public to be very suspicious as well.
It had blown up at that point, and it wasn't just taking our information, it was twisting lies on Facebook. These groups were popping up about the Sullivan siblings, and there's still lots of them out there.
With respect to the spread of misinformation, inaccurate information, and speculation, I just want to say that's harmful. It's harmful to the families and communities who are trying to work their way through a traumatic event.
And I think if you have a vacuum of information, unfortunately, the internet will fill it. That creates two issues. One, journalists have to sift through that information and find out how much of it is relevant or not. And so do investigators, who are obviously looking for legitimate tips and information.
I saw a community severely impacted by this disappearance. I saw people incredibly moved, even people who hadn't known them.
Absolutely miserable. It's a nightmare that I wish we could just wake up from, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
It was poignant that they just wanted Jack and Lily home. They have this hope that they're still alive, that they can come home and celebrate their birthdays and give them toys and love. And they had to celebrate Jack's birthday without him.
It's garnered national and international attention. I never expected, in my wildest dreams, the first day going out there to cover this search for just two missing children, to see how it have grown into what it is now.
I think I'm left with the same questions as everyone else in this case. Like, what happened to them? We know that they disappeared, but we don't know how. The assumption is that they're dead. Will we ever get answers to what happened to them?
criminal operations officer here in the province of Nova Scotia.
Across Morrow's 33 years of experience as a police officer with the RCMP,
Sorry,
he
hang
says
on.
one case has stood out to him.
Sorry, I was muted the whole time. I want to compare. This was 10 days ago, this Global News report, 10 days ago, okay? It's titled, Nova Scotia RCMP Investigator Calls Case of Missing Kids Extremely Rare Global News. 10 days ago. The one we just heard from Global News that didn't interview anybody, just their opinions, is 6 days ago. But what I notice here seems to be, how do I want to say this delicately? Seems to be almost like there's a division in the ranks. Seems to be almost like there's a division in the ranks, because this is McMahon's boss. McMahon, you know, what's one about? What the hell's that about, Donna? What is all that about? What's that about? I was muted at first. I'm sorry. So I'm wondering if there's a disagreement. I'm just curious between the officials on the case. Just listen to this. Let's compare it to McMahon's article in a second.
The disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, Nova Scotia siblings who went missing from their home in Pictou County back in May.
From the outside looking in, this case seemed really rare to the public. Is it a rare one for officers as well?
It's extremely rare. I've never seen it across my career. But while it's rare, what's the part that isn't rare is the complexity of the case, like why it's taking so long, because these investigations have to be done in a methodical approach. It started to generate a lot.
Okay. So there's a consistency here in his saying a methodical approach. These cases take time. Between the Global News article by McMahon and this guy, his boss, who is a commander for the district, they are both aligning with the fact that these cases take time. So let's just listen in.
National media attention and even international.
Did the RCMP find that difficult to manage?
Basically, anybody that was involved with that investigation felt that elevated level of concern.
The case captured worldwide attention.
Now listen to his past tense. Now I understand this article is 2025, but it's just interesting.
Putting the small community of Lansdowne Station on the map and officers under the microscope.
Why do you think so many people from even other countries were so captivated by the details of their disappearance?
Anyone who has children, obviously, from a parental aspect, it deepens that level of concern internally. What happens if it was my child, for instance? Just that initial reaction from a parental perspective would escalate that concern, obviously.
Can you go over how many tips you've received thus far in the Jack and Lilly investigation, as well as how many formal interviews have been conducted by RCMP?
There's been 1,030 tips received, and approximately 86 formal interviews have been completed within the investigation as well. That's sitting
86 formal interviews.
down, interviewing a person, not something that's casual.
I wonder how many of those interviews were with Durwood. Do you think Durwood hit the banks of 80 some interviews? Do you think Durwood's maybe accounting for half a dozen of them?
Conversation while we bump into somebody along the street. It's a sit down, structured interview, obtaining what the person knows firsthand. There's also been roughly over 8,100 functioning.
Rachel, I saw that. There's another Cindy in the family. Bruce is survived by his wife, Patty, and Bruce has his brother, Harry. His wife is Cindy Pearson, Bible Hill. Interesting. Okay, thank you. I don't know. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. I don't know. We'll see. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, honey. So let's keep listening, and then I want to read the article again. And I'm just curious if we're going to hear more from them. I want to keep my level of hope realistic. I'm still leaning towards they're still working on it. They can't just ignore it. Belinda Gray and her lawyer, I'm sure, and Cindy and whatnot are going to demand answers. I don't think they can just ignore it. But the question is, do they have, as the article said, not this clip, new leads taking them in a new direction? Was that a lie? That's what I want to know. Let's listen in more.
Videos that have been actually reviewed by the team that's supervising the investigation. So there's been a lot of work conducted behind the scenes. It's been documented that 7 people have completed polygraph examinations. All 7 were found to be not lying.
The case is still considered a missing persons investigation despite the involvement of major crimes.
Would you say that this was the biggest case that Nova Scotia RCMP had to cover this year?
Yeah, it's certainly one of the most prominent ones within the province in the past year. Touched a lot of people.
But the case of 2 missing children wasn't the only.
I think the fact that he chose to say, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I muted myself way back earlier. So Carla, you must be behind, honey. I think it's interesting that he chose to say that none of the family, that they were all found to be truthful and honest. The 7 people that were given polygraphs. I think that's a very interesting thing to say. And that, I think, is reinforcing we don't think the family had anything to do with this. And that's where this article is. This is, hello, Michelle goes live. This seems totally like a different narrative than the one that just came out from McMahon, right? Like, it's weird. Yeah, everybody click the button. Let's listen in for a couple more minutes.
One that touched the hearts of Nova Scotians this year.
Oh, this is the end of it. That is the end of it. Sorry. So that's the way, because that's the new case they're talking about. So he's talking in past tense because, yes, the article's written in past tense. But the thing is, he's making it sound like this is the end. Everybody was proven to be honest. And he's the supervisor over McMahon, who then comes out and gives us the Globe and Mail article. I'm just going to... Oh, God almighty, my nose, y'all. Globe and Mail, Jack and Lilly. Hang on. 3 days ago. So 3 days later, okay? 3 days later, we get this. So, yeah, what are the RCMP doing? Because the 2 articles, the 2 messages contradict one another. Hey, Bonnie, no worries, honey. 43 watchers, only 33 likes. 51, actually, right now. 46, 51. Let me just blow my nose again. I'm sorry for the constant interruptions, but at least I'm here. At least I'm here. Hang on. God help my cold. So we hear him saying, as a reflection piece for the global news, past tense, this is one of the hardest cases I've ever looked at in my 33-year career. The last thing said is the parents, the 7 polygraph, the people that were polygraphed were all said to be truthful. That's the last thing out of his mouth before that interview ends. And 3 days later, re-get this. Nova Scotia RCMP Major Crimes head says he's confident case of Jack and Lilly Sullivan will be resolved. Starting to think that there might be some political, how do I want to say this? Pulling from rank, that there might be a difference of opinion on how to go forward with this case. That's just because being Canadian and knowing the RCMP, they don't usually break rank like this. They don't usually send two different articles out that convey two different messages. And they are different messages. The question of how two young children could just disappear has kept the RCMP head of Major Crime Unit in Nova Scotia awake for many nights since Jack and Lilly Sullivan were reported missing from their home last May. But Staff Sergeant Rob McCammon, the acting officer in charge of major crimes and behavioral science, now he's pretty high up. But the other guy is the Nova Scotia head. So whether the head of the Nova Scotia province is talking out of his, ASS, how much does he know about this case? Did they even talk? Did they even align before they went with two different narratives? Because you tell me, am I extrapolating or do they sound like different narratives? One's using past tense as a reflection of 2025, and he doesn't create any hope that they're going forward. He doesn't talk about, we're going forward, we still believe. And then 3 days later, McCammon comes out with, and the title of it, Nova Scotia RCMP Major Crimes head says he's confident case of Jack and Lilly Sullivan will be resolved. We don't need to read the whole thing. I can. It says it again here. He insists the police are still making progress with the case, and he's confident that in time it will be resolved. This is not a file that just sits at work and you pick it up in the morning. You've got two very vulnerable people who perhaps were in some difficult circumstances and they've gone missing, and we need answers as to what took place. Now, Mike's saying the cops need answers. DM said they're asking, DM said they asked if he unalived the kids. He may not have, but he could have had a huge part in them being missing. Well, this is it. But they never asked about whether there was a planned disappearance of the kids. And I don't know why they would bring in, with resources that are tight, I'm not clear on why the decision was to polygraph them only around unaliving and not about a planned removal of the kids. I don't know. So were they being truthful that they didn't unalive the kids? Yeah. Maybe they didn't unalive the kids. Or as we said yesterday, 2 days ago, when Lily came in, does Daniel believe his shit because he's a narcissist and he literally doesn't remember because he was mathed up? So I guess the bottom line is, tell me, one, do you think the RCMP are still working on the case? Or just put yes or no. Do you think the RCMP, let's do it this way. Do you think this article, McMahon, I tend to believe him. I think the other guy, because he's provincial, is not necessarily in the weeds with the case. But what strikes me, being Canadian, it's not common for them to split opinions like that, to do 3 different days apart, 2 different articles. So yes or no, do you believe in this article, just give me your opinion, that McMahon is seriously working on the case? Yes or no? Thank you, Carla, honey. You know it's okay, honey. Thank you. I got that. Yes, however, I think it's switched Yeah, and this says a lot. Thank you. That's how I feel, and maybe I want to stay hopeful, Carlene. You know, I want to believe in the RCMP. Carlene says yes. Anybody else want to venture a guess as a yes or no? I wish I could figure out where the poll was in the lives. Nobody else wants to venture a guess. I'm not going to read this whole article. Well, maybe we can, because it's also going back to the beginning. So we've got very difficult, vulnerable people who perhaps were in some difficult circumstances and they've gone missing, and we need answers as to what took place. A team of major crime investigators are still following up. A team of major crime investigators are still following up on more than 1,000 tips they received and working through a list of 1,300 investigative tasks in a case that Staff Sergeant McMahon described as having the greatest volume of information in his 25-year career. So they both say the same thing. So yes, you think. So more people are positive, like myself, than not. Okay. I think that's exactly how I interpret it. I interpreted him to say, we've tried, they walked out the back door route, and they all were proven to be honest in the polygraph, and now we're going down another avenue. Because the polygraph says none of them unalived the kids. We've looked and looked and looked and looked and looked out the backyard, and we don't find them. Maybe we're looking at a different avenue. Sounds like BS to me. You think so, honey? Okay. I don't know. I want to believe what the evidence says other. Yeah. What would it take, under the assumption the RCMP are even watching? I have no idea whether they're watching. I know they've watched me before because they called me during a live. Various press releases have given little nuggets of positivity, hinting that is cooperating and DM is in the hot seat. Yeah. I don't know. The RCMP officer should leave investigator. The RCMP officer lead investigator sounds too reassuring, but the crime unit saying something different. That's a little, yeah. They mostly have, yeah. I mean, it just, to me, it sounds like, I'm not going to say too much. I have to be careful what I say because of one of my phone conversations with one of the police. When did the call happen? When did that happen? In my opinion, why don't they put all three of them in a jail because of the bruises and the other stuff? Well, this is just it, right? We know that there was absolutely neglect at a very minimum. Maybe someone will talk. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the other thing, okay? I want to go into the reward for a second. Because, like I said to you, one of the officers that called me must have thought I was American from the RCMP. I've had contact with 3 of them. And the third guy that called me must have thought I was American because he tried to blow this smoke over my eyes and said, like, you know, it's customary that they offer rewards. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it is not customary for the RCMP to offer rewards in missing kids cases, okay? So he didn't know who he was talking to when he tried to pull the baloney over my eyes. We're going to research that in a second. Let me finish this article because the rewards part came out way at the beginning. So I'm really starting to wonder with these 2 different narratives, and maybe it's just my wishful thinking, that they just have a narrative out there because they know the family's watching that says they just walked out the door. Well, that's it. They looked at the abuse on TV and there was significant mention of these things, which hints to they're now looking. Exactly. That's how I'm interpreting it. I'm looking at it like without, I don't want to sound like I know everything, but I'm going, when I'm talking about this, I'm going back in my mind to the conversations that I had with the RCMP. And I've told you this before. One of them told me in that conversation, they had no fucking clue. They had not a fucking clue. That was, what, 2 months ago when I went on and scathed them publicly. And I said, well, then maybe you should stop looking out the fucking back door then. You know, you've exhausted that 7-8 months in, man. Like, maybe you should try a different narrative if you have no fucking leads and you have no fucking clue. Okay. And that's what I said to him. Like, hello. So I don't know. Is that what they're doing? I'm not taking credit for it. That's for sure. But that literally was said to me 2 months ago on the phone by one of the officers. We have no fucking clue. And they can only go where the evidence brings them. So are they trying to find new little nuggets of evidence that might open up a pathway to something? That's what I think. That's what I think. Well, yeah, that's also really true, right? They're not asking for any more leads or tips, are they? Let's keep finishing this article and then we're going to go look at the reward. So a team of major crime investigators are still following up on more than 1,000 tips they received and working through a list of 1,300 investigative tasks in a case that Staff Sergeant McCann described as having the greatest volume of information in his 25-year career. The disappearance of Jack and Lilly from their home in the rural hamlet of Lansdowne has reverberated across the country and abroad. A missing persons case that Staff Sergeant McCann described as affecting so many because it's a very fundamental wrong. That's a very interesting use of a word. A fundamental wrong. I'd love to be inside his head. What did he really mean there? A fundamental wrong. And I feel like that statement is the crux of the potential disagreement about where this case lays, if that makes sense. Carla says, first thing myself, I think they know what happened to the kids. That's why there hasn't been any charges late yet. But I do believe it's something to do with 2 court battles. It could be due to the custody battle for Baby Meadow and Cindy Marie Maloney's mother soothing CPS. Yes. Yeah. Well, CPS is responsible in a large part. And in my opinion, they had warnings. We see this over and over and over again in these cases where CPS has been investigating, but they don't act fast enough. And I don't know if that's the law. I don't know if that's what that is, but they need to act faster. When there's a red effing flag, they need to go faster, in my opinion. I feel like they should have exhausted all paths when Jack and Lilly first went missing and not taking the adults in the yard's word. Everybody is a suspect. Well, this is the problem. They absolutely took the parents' narrative at the beginning, you know? And then maybe when they started to say, it doesn't look like the kids are back here, because we showed that clip, remember? If you weren't here for that, I found another creator who probably obtained this document illegally, and we showed it very briefly on this channel. And in the bottom of that written RCMP or police report was, in handwriting, this does not look like the kids just simply walked away case. Okay? So their public opinion and what they actually believe behind the scenes are different. So my question is their public opinion because they're worried and hoping that they're going to catch somebody in a slip up? Therefore, their public forward-facing opinion was they just walked out the back door. They just walked out the back door so that DM or Malaya or whoever they think might be the person responsible for this. Maybe I'm hoping. Yeah, no, we played it here, Carlene. We played it here. Anybody here remember that? We played it for 30 seconds because it was, I don't know how this person got it, but I was concerned that they didn't get it legally because it's not meant to be out in public. It's not meant to be out in the public. But it shows they're forward facing. Again, don't forget RCMP is political. The political, right? Do you remember that, Krista? Yeah. So I'm just wondering, and that statement was made, God, I want to say that was dated back in the summertime, June or July. So pretty early on in the case. So my thought is, you remember too, Donna? Yeah. Okay. So my thought is, is there a strategy? Is there the public facing opinion because of the family watching everything and the players that they're trying to nail to the wall for this? They don't want them to know that they're onto them, right? They don't want them to know that they're onto them. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe I'm being gullible, but that's what I'm hoping. Now, if you line up, this doesn't look like they just walked out the back door with what I was told, and we have no clue, that kind of makes sense. We know they couldn't, it doesn't make sense that they walked out the back and we've been searching and searching and searching. We can't find them, but we don't know what happened and we have no evidence. And so we're at a standstill. We're like, we want to solve this case, but we literally have nothing to go on. That's kind of what you're hoping too. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping is going on. Let's just finish this article, and then I want to look up the reward stuff before we go on to the next two videos. So a fundamental wrong, to me, when he says that, means he knows something's wrong about this case. He knows things are not adding up. He knows there's something wrong here that needs to be cleared up. They didn't just walk out the door. That's just what I'm gleaning from that statement, hoping for a breakthrough until they have no leads. Yes. So then the question then that is kind of curious, which I agree with you, and I'm just playing devil's advocate of my own thinking here. Then the question becomes, if this article is valid, why aren't they asking for more tips? Yeah, I know. Do you think there's some dirty cops in the area protecting the players? Let's just ask that. Do you think there's some dirty cops in the area protecting some players? And I'm not going to tell you why I think that. That may be the case. I'm not telling you why I think that may be the case. Do you think there's some cops in the area that might be covering up for the players? Yes or no? Yes, says Carlene. Fundamental wrong says parents or caregivers shouldn't hurt children. Yeah. So 2 of you so far think yes. Anybody else? Say no if you think no. I'm curious. I'm not going to say why. I can't say why, possibly. Maybe I wish I could say why. I wish I could say why. There's only one person that I've told, Donna. Donna, you know what I'm talking about, maybe. Yeah, maybe they're seeing pieces in the crime. They don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. I don't know if this helps. The Ellie part of the family. Is Ellie part of the family? I don't think so. Donna, do you know what I'm talking about? More strings to this bow and the criminality running in different ways. Sorry, I removed the comment. I'm using voice command. It's not going out properly. No worries, Carla. Donna, are you still here? Shit, I'm going to lose a lung. You're not sure? Donna, are you still here? She might have stepped out for a minute. Okay, let's keep reading. You're not sure. I wish I could say. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you, but I can't. I can't. Yeah, okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So based on that secret that I only told you, do you think there's a possible cover up by some of the police officers in the area? No worries, Dolphin Honey. I'm just gonna blow my nose while I. I don't know if there's a time delay. I don't know if Donna, if you're gonna answer. Joyful thinks that there is. Carlene thinks that there is. Donna, if you don't know, just say you don't know. Do you think there's an element to this police force? There's good cops, bad cops everywhere that might be protecting some of the players based on what I told you. No, don't say what I told you, obviously. Which I can't even say. I can't even say. Highly credible. Okay, let's just put it that way. Beyond highly credible. Donna, are you going to answer? Waiting for Donna. Donna's afraid to answer. Jack and Lilly joyful. Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay. That's the one thing I can't tell you here. I cannot, and I think Donna understands why I cannot. I really cannot. Okay, like I really cannot. But something happened that I shared with Donna from an incredibly reliable source that makes me wonder. That makes me wonder. Thank you. Yeah, no, I see it now, honey. Thank you. I see it now. And so I am curious if that's why we're seeing a double narrative. If that's why we're seeing a double narrative. Let's keep reading. On May 2nd, the morning Jack and Lilly were reported missing, their mother, Malaya Brooks Marie, marked them absent from school for a second day in a row. So this is the part where people are, she marked them absent, but she had marked them absent the day before because Lily was supposedly sick. Now, here's the interesting piece. Lily wasn't well, but she was well enough to take on a road trip for the day for all their outings they had to do. Why wouldn't one of them just do the outings and the other one stay behind if Lily was really that unwell? I think some of the RCMP are very opinionated. I do see that, and they have to say things they don't agree with. I see that very clearly. But this is different. This is different. I mean, if I could tell you, I would. But this is very, very, very different. I don't know. I don't know, Michelle, does he? I really don't know. I really don't know. So she had reported them missing the second day in a row. At around 10 a.m., she called 911 to report that they had wandered off while she and their stepfather, Daniel Martel, had been dozing in bed with their toddler. Staff Sergeant McCann declined to speak about an investigative theory or theories because I don't think they have one. declined to comment because I don't think they have a theory. I really don't. Other than they have, I don't know. But he adds that they're making headway. So he declined to speak about investigative theory or theories in an interview at Nova Scotia RCMP headquarters in Dartmouth this month, saying all avenues are still under consideration, and he has to consider the impact on long-term justice should criminal charges be laid. But he added that police are making headway. I believe we have made ground when it comes to where things are heading and what we're finding out. So to me, that's 6 days ago. That's as if they're going down a new path potentially now. We're collecting information from all areas. We're assessing that, and it's helping us form pictures of what may have taken place. We're going to continue to work down that road. The Globe had previously reported on troubling issues inside Jack and Lily's home, including admitted drug use by their stepfather, multiple black eyes on the children, controlling behavior that affected their mother, and other pressures brought on by the family financial struggles. The Globe's reporting also revealed that a provincial child protection social worker had visited the children's home to investigate a report of suspected abuse or neglect. Why did Daniel lie about that? Why did Daniel lie about that? I would absolutely need proof if there was, and I and my favorite brother may have did something. I would turn them in if there was proof. Yeah. So we're looking at their movements in the days prior and the kinds of things that were going on in their lives. That is part of our investigative inquiry, he said. Both parents explained that the children's sudden disappearance the same way. So here's the thing that I'm getting consistently from both, though. This piece here kind of leads me to believe the way that, because this is the Globe and Mail. So whether they chose to put this in or whether he gave them this quote, I don't really know, right? But if it was his quote, then it kind of makes it sound like that the kids, they believe the parents. They don't believe the parents are involved in this, and who else could it be? Both parents explained the children's sudden disappearance the same way. The kids must have put on their boots, opened the glass door, and left the fenced-in backyard. Well, fenced-in is a stretch. Clearly, the Globe did not see the gaping holes in the fence, but I digress. The three adults who live on the property, including the children's step-grandmother, Janie McKenzie, told police that they heard the children playing in the morning before they disappeared. In the days and weeks that followed, the Mounties oversaw one of the largest searches in the province's history. Excuse me, dozens in search of rescue teams, police dogs, helicopters, and drones scoured the thickly wooded area around the trailer for more than 1,200 hours. They reviewed thousands of surveillance videos, and human remains detection dogs poured over 40 kilometers of land. In the late fall, the children's stepfather, Mr. Daniel Martel, said he doesn't believe the children wandered into the woods anymore because of the extensive search. Well, hang on a second. Didn't both the parents say very early on that they thought that they should have an Amber Alert out because it was a distinct possibility the kids were taken? Excuse me. I don't think, but Derwin is a friend of the RCMP. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think, Carla. I don't think the Martels do, but I think Mr. Derwood does too. Hang on, I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay. I don't think I'm going to make it to the second video. We're going to do one after this. Okay. Both parents have repeatedly denied involvement in Jack and Lily's disappearance, and court documents show they both underwent polygraph tests that found that they were truthful on all 4 questions that were not publicly disclosed. So they only answered 4 questions. So these are the parts where I am going to criticize the RCMP. I understand resources are tight. I understand getting a polygrapher out there is expensive. But for the love of God, they only ask them about unaliving, and they only ask them 4 questions. So, I think this is exactly where they went wrong at the beginning, trusting the parents. I'd like to know if they were asked if they planned to have the kids removed, if they would pass that polygraph. If they planned to cover this up and have the kids removed, if I would be curious to know if they would pass that polygraph. Yeah, they exactly, Krista. In her very first interview, which we can show here, she says right away that it could be that somebody took them. Exactly. Exactly. Well, that could be it. Well, that's the other problem. Could these kids have been stored away on one of their private properties that they're not giving them access to? Or they can't just go and, I don't know. I mean, when they're searching, do they need permission to go on private properties? Because were they denied access? We don't really know, other than when Please Bring Me Home went. Do we know if they were ever denied access to another property? Well, we can't even prove that positively, seriously. I don't take anything out of that. I don't know which part you're talking about, honey. But without answers, social media and online content creators have more than filled the void, sometimes mashing facts with misinformation and speculation. While these online communities help keep the case in the public eye, Staff Sergeant McCann said that they also can hamper the investigation. It takes investigators time and resources to look into tips garnered from what, in some cases, has turned out to be just a comment made on social media. Yes. So what they're saying is, here's what I'm picking up. You think Earl wants to tell? Yeah. They're basically saying, just because Daniel, this is what I'm getting from it, just because Daniel is lying on social media doesn't make it a crime. Right? Let's repeat that. While these online communities help us keep the case in the public eye, Staff Sergeant McCann said they can also hamper the investigation. It takes investigators time and resources to look into tips gathered from what in some cases has turned out to be just a comment made on social media. So, sorry, everybody. God almighty. In other words, just because Daniels lied, just because Derwin's lied, just because Derwin's threatened people, just because their stories are inconsistent and changing back and forth all the time, is not going to be considered evidence. So our view of all the lies and everything is not what they're going to go on. Anne says if they had asked Melinda who was the male she was communicating with prior to the children missing, they may have had a different result in the polygraph. Yeah, well, I'm wondering if it was Jordan Geddes now. I'm wondering if Malaya asked Jordan to help. I don't know. Yeah, and never went back. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I agree, too, that Earl wants to spill the beans. That's really not good evidence. That might even be character attributes being, yeah. Well, exactly. It's not. But you could, but the point is, we're saying, on our side of the social media, right? We're seeing, your dad's a tracker. Why wouldn't you call him right away? I'm just saying it's true. It's true. Dad's a tracker. Yeah, and I think somebody wants to talk. I do too. I think somebody wants to talk. But I don't think if the pressure's not on them, they're going to talk. Let's just finish this and then I want to go to the reward. So, I mean, that to me says that while we look at like Daniel's lies and Janie's lies and the inconsistencies as gleaning a window into the character of these people, there's no way that they're going to be able to line those things up without the evidence to show legitimately. They're just statements. They're just statements on social media. And they might, if they were ever got to a court of law, show personality and character, the extent of the character with all the lies, but they're not going to get them a search warrant and an arrest warrant. It's just not the evidence they need. So Staff Sergeant McGann says he understands the urgent need for answers about what happened to Jack and Lilly, but cautioned that intensive major crime investigations take time to do things by the book and according to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We have to consider where the charges will be laid eventually. And that tells me they're thinking about potentially neglect or criminal charges. We won't stop until we have answers to what happened to Jack and Lilly. So I don't know. Mike demands not feeling nearly as positive about that article. I'm going to go in and I want to look at RCMP rewards for missing people. Okay. Let's go to chat. You're going to love this. Tells me that they know they don't know. There's a saying in when I was a coach. Oh, by the way, somebody messaged me through Facebook privately. I'm not mentioning your name, asking me if I could help you. Yes, I have a coaching background, right? So if you want some help, I can help you I can coach you through what you presented to me, but you're going to have to email me. So, yeah, because I was a coach and I've helped a lot of people in a mentally low place. Okay, so listen to this. Look at this. I just asked, how often do RCMP offer reward for missing person? The RCMP does not offer rewards for missing persons on a fixed schedule, but rather on a case-by-case basis, usually in collaboration with provincial governments or other organizations. Rewards are typically offered for major unsolved cases, especially when the person is believed to have been a victim of a crime. Rewards, I'm going to repeat that, are typically offered for major unsolved cases, especially when the person is believed to have been the victim of a crime and investigators believe a monetary incentive could generate new information. Key points regarding RCMP rewards. No fixed schedule. The decision to offer reward depends on the specifics of the investigation and is not a routine procedure for all missing persons cases. Provincial reward programs. In many instances, the rewards are part of a provincial rewards for major unsolved crimes program, which the RCMP, as the policing agency of jurisdiction, submits cases to for consideration and approval. Discretionary amount. The reward amount, which can be up to $150,000 in some provincial programs, example Nova Scotia, is determined by the relevant government body and depends on the investigative value of the information provided. Condition of information. Those who come forward with information under these major case reward programs must often provide their name and contact information and may be required to testify in court to receive the payment. Third-party rewards. Other organizations like Crime Stoppers, up to $2,000 for anonymous tips, or the BOLO program also offers rewards for information on certain cases, some of which may be RCMP investigations. Ultimately, the goal of a reward is to provide the incentive for the public to offer that one missing piece of the puzzle that can help solve a stalled investigation. So I'm going to go into the AI and say, now I'm trying to dive deeper, okay? I want to make sure you can see this new Okay, it changed over. Okay, hang on. On Sunny's Live when evening Derwin O'Grady did state that he had a friend of his said he went to high school with his RCMP officer. Not quite sure if he's okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So now let's look at this. Rewards for missing persons are not a standard feature of most RCMP investigations and are considered a tool of last resort. While the RCMP itself does not typically have a budget dedicated to offering rewards, they facilitate them through three primary channels. One, provincial rewards for major unsolved crimes programs, the most substantial rewards up to $150,000. They came out at the get-go offering the most substantial reward they could of $150,000. That means they think somebody was willing to talk, right? The frequency is rare. These programs generally focus on cold cases or high-profile cases, disappearances, high-profile disappearances where investigative leads have been exhausted. The criteria the RCMP must apply to the provincial government to have a case included. So they had to apply to get that reward. Yeah, I know. Can we trust Derwood, though? Can we trust Derwood? Right? I don't know. Example, in June 2025, here's the example. I haven't even asked them about Jack and Lilly. An example, in June 2025, $150,000 reward was offered for information regarding two missing children in Nova Scotia, Jack and Lilly Sullivan, through the Provincial Rewards Program. Okay, so I'm going to ask, how many times have Nova Scotia RCMP offered reward for missing person? In Nova Scotia, rewards for missing persons are offered through the provincial government rewards for major unsolved crimes program rather than by the RCMP. As of January 2026, there are approximately 20 missing persons cases included in this program. Wow. Wow. Key statistics for Nova Scotia, total active cases. There are 122 active cases in the rewards program, the majority of which are unsolved homicides. Roughly 20 are of missing persons, specifically involved missing persons where foul play is suspected. The payout frequency, the program is rarely successful in terms of payouts. Since its inception in 2006, only 6 cash rewards have ever been paid out to tipsters across all case types, homicides, and missing persons. And this is Nova Scotia. This is very interesting. I had not looked this in. I had not seen this before. Notable recent cases, 2025-2026. Jack and Lilly Sullivan, a reward of $150,000 was offered in June of 2025 for information regarding these two children. Zachary Lefebvre, his case remains in the program with a $150,000 reward as of December 2025. Devin Sinclair Marsman, 2024, in a rare move, the provincial government increased the reward for this missing persons case to $250,000 in April 2024 to encourage new leads. Matthew Simon Harry, 2022, added to the program in March of 2022 with a $150,000 reward. Wow. RCMP application, how the process works. The RCMP must formally request the Nova Scotia Department of Justice to add a case to the program. Strict criteria. Rewards are typically reserved for major unsolved crimes where standard investigative avenues have been exhausted. And unlike Crime Stoppers, required disclosure, providing information to this program cannot remain anonymous. Okay, but I want you to read this, where standard investigative options have been exhausted. They came out with this reward in June of 2025. It says it right here. Right here. June of 2025. 100 isn't enough. Yeah, I know. But I am just curious how they came to determine in June. The kids disappeared in May 2nd. By June, they had already deemed this to be suspicious and that they were dead-end leads in June. I don't know when in June. Do you remember? I'm going to see if I can get a date. Do we have a date in June? RCMP offered the reward for Jack and Lilly. June 19th. Hang on, let me blow my nose again. I'm so sorry, everybody. I know it's a pain in the... It's cold. It's going to be the enemy. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. So that's what I'm piecing together, Anne. Based on what I was told by one of them on the phone, based on what we're learning here, based on that 30-second slip of information that I don't know how that creator, I'm not even mentioning their name, we showed it here, found a document that I don't think was supposed to be, she was not supposed to have, in my opinion. I think she got it illegally, which is why I only showed it very, very briefly, of them saying unofficially, oh, I'm still muted. I'm still off this camera. Unofficially, they didn't believe they walked out the back door. And this is in alignment with that statement because they offered the reward June 19th. The reward for information regarding the disappearance of siblings Jack and Lilly Sullivan was officially offered on June 19th. They would have had to go through the application process. So how long does the application process go? How long does it take to get reward approved? So this tells me it takes time to get the reward approved, depending on whether you're using provincial. Okay. In the case for the large $150,000 reward offered by Nova Scotia Department of Justice, the approval payout process is a long-term commitment, not a quick transaction. The approval of the case for Jack and Lilly Sullivan's case took approximately 7 weeks from the date they went missing, May 2nd, for the provincial government to approve and announce the reward June 19th. Well, 7 weeks. I don't know. That's not really answering my question. There's 7 weeks between the time they went missing and the announcement of the reward. But I want to know, how long would it take to get the reward approved? Maybe I got to word it differently. Because there's 7 weeks. If it takes 2 weeks to get the reward approved, they knew 5 weeks in. You see what I'm saying? The time to get a reward approved depends on the program being used. Well, it's just going to keep going to 7 weeks. 7 weeks. 2 weeks. We got Crime Stoppers 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm not going to get an answer, but hang on. So we don't really know because that's the back room. But the point is, they put the reward out June 19th. And makes sense. Sebastian was months. Yeah. So they had to know. Remember what I just said? I thought Reese saw that clip, that creator that replayed here. I'm not mentioning their name because I think they found something illegal was an officer's statement in handwriting at the bottom signature of the statement. This doesn't sound like a simple case of the kids walking out the back door. And I just said, I thought that was in June or July in the summertime. So it seems to me that might have been the statement in alignment with the request for the reward, right? The timing of the summertime and the reward going in. Buds girl, nice to see you. It could be, Kitty, is that you again? Is that you again? It could be that they knew early on, but their narrative is still, we don't have the evidence. The family's coming up honest in the polygraphs, but this doesn't look like the kids walked out the back door. We just don't have the evidence. And that's, to me, where I think this case went. And hopefully this article is saying that they're going to go in a new direction. That's what I'm hoping. Hey, Kitty, why'd you change your name, honey? Why'd you change your name? Okay, I'm going to play one video here because I think it's really important to the very beginning of the timeline. We're going to play one video and then I'm going to call it a day because of my cold. This is Ninshi's video on Janie's raking. What the heck was Janie doing with a rake? What was Janie doing with her rake, right? I just want to make sure I've got her. I'm properly crediting her. So I'm just going to go back and see what's her channel name. Hang on. Why can't I? Okay, sorry. Let me just make sure I credit her. Just want to listen to what she has to say. But I did her TV interview. That was all done before Malia did her yeah. I know, honey. Thank you. I know. Well, if you're just coming in now, that's why I'm really interested with what I did when I said I was channeling Lily earlier today. Honey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere today. I'm just going to go to bed after this and rest. But let's watch this because I just am very curious about the rake. Okay, I'm very curious about the rake. So let's watch this and see what she has to say about the rake. And then, as I said, I'm going to do my best when I'm feeling a little bit better to do more of my own investigative tools. But I really think for myself to go forward in 2026 with Jack and Lilly, I need to feel hopeful. I need to feel hopeful. So while Mike doesn't think that they're being honest and transparent, I'm going to lean on the side of hope. I'm going to lean on the side that they're really trying to find answers because I think with lawsuits pending, I don't think they can afford to just walk away from this case. I think if Cindy is suing them or CPS and whatnot, they've got a lot of pressure on them. And I don't think they can just afford to walk away. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm being naive, but I just don't think they can afford to walk away. So let's just see what Ninchi has to say about Janie's rake.
With my dogs as well.
And if you feel like it, we can listen to Mike's rake video because I was just I was just going to ask if you wanted to hear the Rake song. I love it. I love his I've Got a Rake. Let's play it. Let's look for Janie's Got a Rake. And it's not to make fun of the situation. It's just true crime is harder than heck. And if you don't laugh, you're going to go nuts, you know? You're going to go nuts. It's very hard. Janie's Got a Rake. Okay. We're going to play it. Hang on. Let's go. Stop sharing. I got to open up this one. I never even thought about it, Krista, until now. And then you and I were like in alignment here. Let's go. Let's get this Janie's Got a Rake playing. Hang on. I can't even open it. Where is it, Mikey? Janie's Got a Rake. That's like not opening. Trying to find it. Why is it not opening for me? There it is.
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
So what do you make of the fact that they are bringing the cadaver dogs in?
Janie's got a rake.
Well, I'm actually pretty happy about that.
Janie's got a rake.
I even hope that they bring more than one.
She's got so much to do.
So what are you happy about?
Her driveway needs a pool.
I would just like to see maybe the social media speculation theories and accusations, maybe. They're not going to stop, but slow down. Because at this point, they're getting ridiculous.
When Danny was arrested, they found him on the pipeline trail. In front of helicopters running, now that Janie's got a rake, Fluffy's never gonna be the same. Daniel's so fake, now what's he gonna do? Was he building a fence or clearing for a pool? Did the kids go to sleep at 10 or at 8? Little Danny boy can't escape his fate. Danny's more concerned about what you're thinking. The kids are an afterthought, let that sink in. Trolling the net pops up like a whack-a-mole. You wanna buy a story with a giant hole? Apparently Thursday had no detail. Here comes Mike on a mission to derail all of the BS Danny is speaking. International sea of guilt is leaking. Thinks he's so smart, but he never took the course. Forensic linguistics will knock him off his horse. Shout out to Tint for the 4K drone shot. Now it is clear that his house is in earshot. Mystery car running trips through the night. Observed by Wong, he could even see the headline. Victim blaming is degrading the children. He's more concerned about the world's perception. Girl after girl, he receives rejection. At least he's got his mum when he needs some affection. Janie's got a rake.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
Janie's got a rake.
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
She's got so much to do.
I didn't do anything.
Her driveway needs a pool.
I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do
What
anything.
did her daddy do?
Those are 3 people on the property.
What did he put Jack and Lilly through?
I mean, after the polygraph exam, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids.
They found him on the pipeline trail.
We didn't kill any of the kids. We didn't kill any of the kids.
In front of helicopters running, now that Janie's got a rake, Fluffy's never gonna be the same.
We didn't kill any of the kids.
Danny's on the roll, now he can't stop speaking, plugging up the holes, but his ship is sinking. Thursday was just an ordinary day. I just spent 20 minutes trying to explain that nothing didn't happen and there are no details. Stupid dog handlers, they ain't gonna sniff trails. 100% they will not find nothing. That's a double negative, you dumb butt muffin. I was awake and asleep at the exact same time. Hang on, is Malaya's story lining up with mine? No cars were towed, but it's not at the impound. It wasn't in my name and the car makes no sound. This is a case of abuse and negligence. Jack and Lilly are the victims of its consequence. Victim blaming is the mode of the family. You never hear anyone take responsibility. There were 3 adults on the block that night. People don't just vanish. Get that right. Like John Benet Ramsey, there should be an indictment, and Janie is to blame for your incitement. You put up a wrench, but what the hell for? Like a bear can turn a handle, but not slide a door. Your incessant rambling is a gift to detectives. So many contradictions, your tale is defective. Janie's got a right.
Filled notebooks with just trying to help them find leads or
Got a right.
give them any kind of small detail, answer as many questions as I can, and you know, I'm doing everything I can.
So why do you think this step is necessary?
What did her daddy do?
Well, it just rules out one and brings the book a little bit closer to being
They
closed.
said when Daddy was arrested, they found him on the Pipeline track.
I'm not going to say I'm doing well, but doing better than I was at the start, I guess.
Helicopters running, now that Janie's got a right. Fluffy's never gonna be the same.
Tell me about the toll, like what you were just mentioning earlier about social media.
Yeah, social media has been quite a circus, we'll call it. But I can't control them, and they're free to judge.
And there is such a stark contrast right now between where his mind is at and where the minds of the people are who want to know what happened to Jack and Lilly. And that is the only thing that we want to find out right now.
I love that song. Mike did such an amazing job with that, in my opinion. He does say butt muffin. Carla, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Do you want me to do it today? I just don't know how long it'll take. But it's a great point, is to see if we can pick up the, if chat can pick up the idiosyncrasies. When will I try to do that for tomorrow? Because I want to just play Ninshi's assessment. Mike did not make that video. Oh. Who made it? I mean, it's his channel. It's on his channel. Absolutely. Okay, let's play this, and then tomorrow. The reason I wanted to start here is, in my opinion, just my opinion. Mike made that video. Yeah, he did. No, he didn't make the song, though. He probably used, like Donna does, is like it's an app, right? Like, I don't think it's his singing. He just typed in the words and had the app, like an AI thing, create the music, I'm guessing. But it's hilarious nonetheless. Okay, so Ninshi here, it's one of the 3-part series. I made it under Mike's guidance. It's one of a 3-part. Oh, you made it. Thank you. It's one of a 3-part. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's amazing. Western Australia just happened to be up late, which is not normal for me. Wow, welcome in. Congratulations. That song, I love it. I love it. I love it. Sun Cycle, great work. If you want to do another one, feel free. Do one for us. Okay. I am I know, I get it now. I thought it was AI. I was just assuming. Thank you. You're definitely not AI. Thank you for doing that. That's amazing. Amazing work. I love that song. I think it's hilarious. And let me ask you this. Did Mike tell you what to put in it? Like, did you know aspects of the case before you were making that song? Because I think it's brilliant. I'm just going to blow my nose again, and then we're going to listen to Ninshi's take on the rake. And the reason I think the rake's important is because who friggin' rakes a muddy laneway in front of a dog that doesn't like the kids, so the kids can play in a pool on a muddy laneway, not a lawn, which is not even legal in Canada. You have to have pools fenced in, no matter how big or small. So it's not a legal pool if she was putting it there. On the night the kids go missing. The chances of that being legitimately her filling potholes and not covering up something that happened or evidence that was in that laneway, in my opinion, are like none. In my opinion, something happened in that laneway the night before when the neighbors heard the car going back and forth and Janie's rake was covering something up. That's just my opinion. And so that's why we're starting here. Let me blow my nose before we get into this.
So I have 2 little 1-year-old dogs who are in crazy mode because they love hanging out together. So you may hear some craziness in the background. I also want to just offer an apology for members. I know it's been a little while since I put a members video out. I will try and make that my focus for the first week of the new year. I know there are times when I get behind the 8 ball and I'm trying to catch up again right now. I also want to say a huge thank you to those people who've been supporting me through Super Thanks and Buy Me a Coffee. You are getting me just that little bit closer to getting my MacBook, which will make life so much easier for me with this channel. For those people who are not aware, I have links in the description for this video for my Buy Me a Coffee, which is just a small way that you can support my channel. There is also a link for my Patreon page, which is free to join and has the documents for this case if you wanted copies of the documents.
Thank you.
And they're all free to upload as well.
Well, welcome in. Thank you for being here. You did an amazing job, Sun Cycle. Thank you. It's so nice that you came here while we were playing that song. I love it. I could listen to that song over and over again. I really love it. And to me, it's so critical because I think that says the story that something freaking happened the night before. You know, it doesn't make sense. I'm Canadian. On May 2nd, my girlfriend Sharon is not really into this stuff, but she's from Truro. And she's willing to come in one day to tell us what the weather was like out that way. It's like not that far away from where they live, where she is. The weather pattern's the same. This is Canada, folks. We get a lot of freaking snow. And Nova Scotia gets more snow than we do here where I am, okay? Lots more. And they had a lot of freaking snow last year. A lot. There's no way in hell on May 2nd it's warm enough in Nova Scotia for a pool. There's just not an effing chance, okay? There's not a chance in hell. There's no legitimacy to that statement, in my opinion. None. None, none, none. What was Janie really doing the night before in the laneway, in my opinion, was covering up evidence. She had to be covering up evidence. So let's listen to what she has to say. And Carla, tomorrow, I will go back and plug in the different articles and interviews, and let's see what Chat has to say about the discrepancies, what's consistent and what's not, and see if Chat can be a little detective for us. But let's keep watching this. It's a 50-minute clip. We're going to listen to that, and then we're going to call it a day. And that'll bring us to a 3-hour live. And we'll go back tomorrow, and we're going to do more things. We're going to keep looking at this case, the new and the old, going back to the beginning. And this is fundamentally, in my opinion, the night before in that laneway would have led a lot of clues had it not been cleaned up.
There are paid tiers if you want to support my channel, but it's not necessary if you're just after copies of documents.
Exactly, Krista.
If you wanted to support my channel,
the thing about that too, about the ground being cold, means it would have been hard. Let me just blow my nose again. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so appreciative of you being here and being patient with my cold. The ground would have been cold, which another aspect is interesting and needs to be considered, okay? The ground would have been cold and it would have been frozen. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't. Okay, well, we'll go listen to that. They didn't believe her story. It wasn't adding up. Oh, well, that's good to hear. I hear you, Dolphin. Okay, so let's listen to this. Well, I'm glad they told her. I'm glad they told them. Maybe that's why they're all quiet now, because they know that they're listening to other narratives other than the kids walked out the back door. Now, let's listen
Becoming a member. The membership is set at the lowest tier, so I think it's only, given that I struggle to keep up with answering people's comments, I try to, so why are you going to put a swimming pool in the middle of the driveway, given that the location that she's claiming to be putting a swimming pool.
Okay, let me just go back to where
at
it
the end of the
starts.
day, none of us believe it's first.
Okay, let's
Anyway,
go.
as is suggested by the thumbnail, in this video, I want to go back to talking about Janie raking the driveway. At the end of the day, none of us believe this story about her raking the driveway to level it out for a swimming pool. It makes no sense, particularly given that the...
Yeah, I didn't finish my statement, Krista. It would have been also really hard to bury bodies deeply because the ground would have been frozen. And the farther down you go, it would have been frozen. And May 2nd in Canada, it would have been, the ground would have still been frozen as far as the depth to which they would have been able to bury kids. It would have been difficult. So, I don't know, man. Let's keep going.
Location that she's claiming to be putting a swimming pool is a location that is pretty much on the driveway. So why are you going to put a swimming pool in the middle of the driveway where there is gravel? You're going to get rocks going through the bottom of that pool, and you'll have holes in it within the first couple of weeks. Not only that, the pool's going to get filthy as you get children climbing in and out and getting gravel into the pool.
No.
And yes, Nova Scotia does also have laws, just like Australia, where...
Well, Daphne doesn't live out that way. She lives in New York. That's a great point, Women's Warrior. They could have been put in the back of a car. Yes, they could have been. That's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that. But Daphne doesn't live that way. She's in New York. So, I don't know what that means. Is she out there visiting, trying to look right now?
Pools are meant to be in fenced-off areas. So having it just in this open area on the driveway makes no sense. I could understand her maybe putting a little pool in the yard directly in front of her RV, because that would be fenced off and that would be somewhere that she could supervise. But the location on the driveway where she claims that she was raking to put a pool, yeah, sure. But of course, the question still remains, why was Janie raking at night time on the driveway? Now, when it comes to what happened to Lily and Jack, there's only a handful of things that logically would explain two children being gone at once. And one of the things that has been speculated on quite a lot is the possibility that someone may have hit them with a vehicle in the driveway. There's certainly a lot of things said by Janie, a lot of her body language, and even things said by Daniel that point to the possibility that these children were in the driveway and perhaps hit by a vehicle. And then, of course, there's that whole circular question-answer thing of, well, if they were hit by a vehicle, wouldn't there be any signs in the driveway? Well, first of all, that would only occur if...
So I just Googled the sunset time. What time did the sun set on May 1st in Pictou County, Nova Scotia? 8:12 p.m. New Glasgow, 8:12 p.m. And so they were out there much later than 8:12 p.m. Did they not say they were out there much later than 8:12 p.m.? Were they raking in the dark? Were they raking in the dark?
If there was blood involved. But of course, the speculation is that
Thank
maybe
you,
Janie was
Donna.
raking the driveway at night time on the Thursday to hide signs of what happened to the children.
Yeah.
There's even been speculation that the children are buried in the driveway. But of course, when you apply a little bit of logic, you'll realise that the driveway would be far too heavily compacted for that to be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people have said, well, if something happened to the children in the driveway and they died there on the driveway, wouldn't the human remains detection dogs pick up something? And yes, they should alert to a location if that is the location where the children died. Here's the thing, though. The media release that was put out didn't specifically say that the dogs never alerted. All they said was that the dogs failed to find human remains. They did not find Jack and Lilly. In terms of the dogs alerting, the only statement that was made was if the dogs did not alert anywhere, that would either mean that there wasn't a scent or that they failed to pick up a scent. Now, that was such a bizarre comment to make, which to me does suggest that the dogs did alert somewhere. We know that they had a head start on Daniel because he had his visit with Meadow. So by the time he returned to the property, they'd already been there for about an hour. So he wouldn't even know if those dogs alerted when they first got there. You can bet they arranged it that way so they could get there and have the property to themselves. And you can bet that they would have targeted whatever was their number one location while Daniel was absent. So let's say the dogs didn't alert at all on that driveway. Does that mean that nothing happened there on that driveway? Or is there possibly another explanation? Now, I'm going to go through all these things as I go through this video. Hopefully by the end, we'll have a possible scenario that could explain some of these.
Right here in this area here. I plan on putting a pool up this year for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You need level ground for a pool.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was doing. I was leveling out the ground to set up a pool.
Okay, hang on a second. Hang on a second.
So obviously we've seen this clip zillions of.
I need your nose is growing buzzer. I need your nose is growing buzzer. I say to Janie. Putting up a pool. Putting up a pool, eh, Janie? Okay. Yeah.
Times we've heard this clip zillions of times. So it really doesn't require much commentary. Just want to point out she's showing this as the area where Malaya was standing also. And the reason that the reporter had to clarify, and this was Thursday, is because of her explanation. The one where she's talking about Malaya standing in this location and then she was raking gravel. And it does sound like the two things were simultaneous pretty much.
Thursday, they were in town. When they came home, I came out of the trailer. Jack was sitting beside the little playhouse.
The little what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say here? The little
digging worms with Lily. Jack said, Granny, I found a worm. I found a centipede. I said, good boy. You keep looking. I went over and I started raking in front of my RV where I found Malaya standing. I was raking there some gravel out of the bank to smooth it out to put a.
Okay, I just heard a slip. Did you hear that? I was raking there. I was raking there, she says. Let's listen to that again. I was raking what? Their blood up?
And then she was raking gravel.
Listen
and it does
again.
Sound like the two things were simultaneous pretty much.
Thursday, they were in town. When they came home, I came out of the.
Okay, you sound like, okay. It sounds like she's reading a script. Thursday, they were in town. I want you to catch the word there, though. I was raking there. Their what, Janie? Their blood?
Trailer. Jack was sitting beside the little playhouse digging worms with Lily. Jack said, Granny,
I said, then Jack said,
found a worm. I found a centipede. I said, good boy. You keep looking. I went over and I started raking in front of my RV where I found Malaya standing. I was raking there.
There? Raking my there? What was she really going to say there? Did you hear it? She was going to say, I was raking there. What was she really going to say there? I'm going to rewind that another second again. Listen.
Centipede. I said, good boy. You keep looking. I went over and I started raking in front of my RV where I found Malaya standing. I was raking there some.
There what? Ugh. Listen in. Play it slower.
Scenario that could explain some of. zillions of times. We've heard this clip zillions of times. Does that mean that nothing typically say that? And of course, there's a
Hang on, where am I
sense,
going?
the one where she's talking about, it's like in her mind, she can't separate.
Plan on putting a pool up this year for the kids. You need level ground for a pool. That's what I was doing. I was leveling out the ground to set up a pool.
And this is the Thursday.
This is Thursday.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm dizzy from coughing now. I just caught the reporter. I was raking the ground to put a pool in, and then they show nothing but dirt. It's like the reporter's like, I call bullshit on this. Oh my God. It's like raking the grout, the blood. Yeah. Okay, Krista, but we're never going to get through this if we have to. Baffles me. No other footprints on the property except one. It's like the children didn't live there. Did they plant the one? Yeah. Oh, but I just thought that panning out was priceless. I didn't really capture that before. It's like the investigator, the photographer, and the journalist are trying to capture the essence of the lie. Listen again and watch the panning. I was leveling out the ground to set up a pool, and then the reporter shows nothing but dirt. Dirt.
The pool.
And this is the Thursday.
This is Thursday.
Right.
So obviously you've seen this clip zillions of times.
Sorry.
You've heard this clip zillions of times.
Too funny.
So it really doesn't require much commentary. Just going to point out she's showing this as the area where Malaya was standing. Also,
I never
and
noticed that before. I'm pretty sure the reporter didn't believe her. What do you think? They don't pan it out to this beautiful grassy knoll where the kids are going to swim and bathe in the grass in the sun. They pan out to the gravel laneway. How effing priceless.
the reason that the reporter had to clarify, and this was
Shit, I got to
Thursday,
stop coughing.
is because of her explanation. The one where she's talking about Malaya standing in this location and then she was
in the
raking
rain.
gravel.
Yeah.
And it does sound like the two things were simultaneous pretty much.
Thursday, they were in town. When they came home,
Listen
I
to
came out of the
this.
trailer. Jack was sitting beside the little
The little what?
playhouse digging worms with Lily. Jack said, Granny, I found a worm. I found a centipede. I said, good boy. You keep looking. I went over and I started raking in front of my RV where I found Malaya standing. I was raking there some gravel out of the bank to smooth it out to put a swimming pool. That's the only thing I did, was break a little gravel out of the bank to level it out for a swimming pool.
Now, I do think this is leakage because the way she says, I started raking in front of my RV where I found Malaya standing. It's like in her mind, she can't separate.
She's making a really great point. Why is, yeah, right. Could the ground be any more level with the camera view? Laugh my ass. It's funny, but it's not funny. I know, honey, but we got to laugh when we can, you know? Yes, she told us the pool was for her dog. Yeah, exactly. She also says the bank as in a water reference or money reference. Yeah, but I'm also wondering if there was evidence in the embankment as well, right? Was there evidence in the embankment as well? Interesting. Let's keep listening.
The two things. She can't separate Malaya standing on the driveway in front of her RV with her having to rake the gravel. Now, of course, the official story from Janie is that she found Malaya standing out on the driveway, and Malaya's like, the children are missing, and she's like, how long? All that.
And why does Janie insist on bringing Malaya into this narrative where Malaya was standing? You know, it's like Ninchi's saying, it's like she's trying to implicate Malaya in that statement. Why, Janie? It's like what Mike would say when you offer or deception detective, when you over-explain, you got to raise your eyebrows. So she's over-explaining. What does raking have to do with where Malaya was standing? Nothing. Nothing. They weren't even at the same timeline. Malaya was in bed when you were raking. So why is there an over-explanation there? That tells me that she was covering up what evidence there was, and that's what she was raking, and now she's going to try to blame it on Malaya. That's how I interpret it. Tell me what you think.
Yada, yada. So Malaya standing on the driveway is connected to the children going missing. So here she is melding the two things together, the children going missing and her raking the driveway. In her mind, she can't separate them. Of course, she claims she was raking the gravel on Thursday evening, whereas Malaya was allegedly standing on the driveway Friday morning. But if we are to believe that something occurred to the children Thursday evening, then we need to shift Malaya to standing on the driveway Thursday evening, in which case it makes sense that she is associating Malaya standing on the driveway and something happening to the children with her needing to rake the driveway. But note also how much trouble she's having getting this sentence out when she's talking about actually raking. She starts with, I was raking my ground, and she doesn't quite finish ground. And then she tries to correct herself and she says, raking there some gravel out of the bank to smooth it out to put it in a swimming pool. Now, it's interesting that she does say raking there some gravel, like corrects herself some gravel after saying there, because I think this is definitely leakage. The way she's stumbling over her sentences here is really telling. She's trying to sell one story and her brain is sabotaging that story big time. Now, you could say, well, she's saying that she raked there in that location. But when you listen to what she said, she's already established where the location is. I started raking in front of my RV, where I found Malaya standing. This second statement, she's trying to actually give the reason for raking. Because when she finally gets around to it, she says she's raking gravel out of the bank to smooth it out to put in a swimming pool. So that particular statement is about why she's raking the gravel, not about where. So when she says, I was raking my ground, and then pauses and then changes to raking there, and then changes again to some gravel, she's talking about there as in belonging to somebody, connected with somebody, not location. And we know that because the topic of the sentence, the statement, is she's doing it to put in a swimming pool. It's all.
What was she raking evidence up? Was it their blood or their footprints? But she's definitely referencing, I was raking something from the kids, their blood, their footprints, something about these kids.
About the reason for raking. So she doesn't need to reintroduce location because that is not the reason. So she's trying to establish that the reason she was raking was because she was going to put in a swimming pool. But while she's trying to say this, she said she's raking there and then some gravel. So she's raking there something. So she's raking something that is connected to somebody, and it is with regards to the gravel. Listen again to what she says here.
Yeah.
I was raking there some gravel. I was raking there some gravel.
It's really clear that she says raking there. And the fact that she has to correct herself shows that it's a mistake.
This was
something she was not meant to say. Given that she's already
she wasn't raking afterwards. She was originally claimed to be doing potholes, filling in potholes, which I wish she'd just stuck. I mean, for her own sake. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say I wish because I hope they get caught. But for her own sake, she probably should have stuck to that storyline. It was a lot more believable than raking for a pool, So, but yeah, Vicky says, women's warrior, also first thought the dog got cat, but then knowing Malaya has been planning on leaving for 2 months, it changed my mind. Yeah. Well, in the dog attack, you think that the witnesses, the neighbors would have heard the dog, like that's also why, why is there no yelling or screaming from these kids? It's just interesting.
Given us the location, she's definitely not talking about location here. So it makes me wonder if there was something on the driveway connected to what happened to Lily and Jack, and she was raking that to get it out of the way or to cover it up. But I don't think
No,
that she was actually trying to cover it.
Okay, I just get a hit. I just got a hit. I think she did rake away evidence, and I know it seems like an obvious thing, but I mean, she's telling us. She's raking away evidence and then pulling the dirt down from the side to refill the laneway in. Do you know what I mean? Like she's raking or shoveling down to get evidence out and then pulling new dirt to level the driveway out again from the sandy knoll. Hey, Miss Q. Hey, Miss Q. I wanted to mention something about yesterday when you were in here, and I totally forgot. It was something that you would have known about yesterday, but anyways, never mind. It was about the Russ thing, but anyway, so she's telling us, in my opinion, indirectly, because she's trying to pin it on Malaya where Malaya was standing, which is irrelevant, that there was cleanup being done and they had to lift enough dirt out to get down enough, what would be to fill it back in from the side of the laneway, from the slope. So she would have had to dig it deep enough and then refill it from the side, which tells you what? It's not footprints she was raking up. Was there blood evidence that she was raking up, that they had to go down far enough to get out so the dogs couldn't trace it, and then pulling the sand from the bank to cover up the depression in the laneway, to cover it back in, to bring it back up to level? That's what I'm picking up.
Something up, and I'm going to explain that later in the video. But notice how it's not just the stumbling over her words. There's a severe lack of fluency to what she's saying here. The tempo is all out of whack. The rhythm is all out of whack. The cadence is all out of whack. She's trying to sell us some soggy bread here. The way she's speaking certainly indicates that she's not being truthful. And like I said, just applying simple logic makes us think, well, why would she put a swimming pool there? The swimming pool story is concocted to cover for the real reason that she was raking that driveway, in my opinion.
Because when I opened up the door, Jack said, look, I found a worm, I found a centipede. I said, good boy. I said, you keep looking. Then I went out, I started raking up the yard here for us, leveling out for a swimming pool for the kids, because I was going to put one up this year.
Again, she's having so much trouble getting the words out here. She's like, I started raking up the yard here. So she's throwing in all these pause words, these filler words, and she's pausing in between her words as well. So instead of saying for a swimming pool, she gets as far as for a, and then stops and has to backtrack to be able to say, leveling it out for a swimming pool for the kids. So clearly that is something that she has rehearsed in her head, the leveling out the ground for the swimming pool for the kids, because that part she just spat it out at the end. But the whole raking the gravel part.
Some truth to what she was saying. There's some truth to what she was saying. Yeah, what's up? Who the hell puts their kids in a laneway with dirt to swim in the pool? I mean, it's the most insidious thing I've ever heard. It's the most absolute ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Not to mention that May 2nd, there is no bloody hell those kids are going to be. I mean, if they were letting them swim in a pool on May 2nd, then that's neglect. I mean, that is beyond neglectful. I can tell you in May 2nd, if they were put in the water, they would have died from hypothermia pretty fast. Okay. There's no swimming in Nova Scotia on May 2nd. It's not warm enough. It's bloody heck not warm enough. So no wonder why, according to Anne here, Shannon's live last night said that the RCMP told Janie they didn't believe her story. Janie, yeah. There's no way in hell it's believable if you know the local weather and you know the outside there. There's no way the elements would be allowing these kids to swim in a pool in May. It's the most obsidious thing I've ever heard. So, of course, they don't believe her. It proves she has no interest in those kids at all. Yeah. She's covering up something in that laneway. And yeah, that looks like that. There's no retaining wall, and it looks like that mound is loose there. And the RV is almost like keeping that up, right, as a wall. So yeah, it would have been not hard to take it down and fill it. And she's telling us she's leveling the laneway. So in my opinion, just my opinion, she's dug up evidence and now raking over it.
She was really
and
having
leveling
trouble
it out.
actually spitting that out and saying it. And this is something that I mentioned in one of the longer videos that I did talking about the driveway. You can hear Tucker whining in the background. And what is really interesting about this, you only hear him doing this when she's talking about the driveway. This is a dog who is with her nearly all the time. This is a dog who I would imagine acts in some regards like a service dog, as he's an emotional support dog. You can tell by the way she talks about him. So him whining while she is talking about having to rake the gravel does make me think that it's something that stresses her out, this discussion about the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that this time around she refers to raking up the yard as opposed to raking in the driveway. But she's just, the two things that she's struggling with here is to say what she was doing in terms of raking.
Thank you, honey.
She was raking.
Thank you.
Raking up the
Thank you. I'll
yard
pull it
here.
up.
So she was having trouble saying what it was she was raking, and she was also having trouble saying why she was raking. And then she has to backtrack and go leveling it out for a swimming pool for the kids. This is something that clearly she's not telling us the truth, and she's really struggling to spit the words out.
If two kids get out of a fence, and Jack and Lily are all the time yelling, especially Lily, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, let's go, Jackie. It's all I hear out here. When the kids get out of the fence and come out through here, I would have heard them yelling, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, let's go. I didn't hear anything.
Now, when she's talking about the kids getting out of the fence, I actually had to watch it several times slowly to be certain of exactly what she was saying. You've heard of fading facts, which is usually where at the end of the sentence they start getting quieter. And that usually indicates that they are not being truthful. Well, what you have here is a word that is not actually audible. But when you look at her lips, you can see that it's meant to be when, not if. So she's just finished talking about all she hears is, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie. And then you hear the kids get out of the fence. And I've slowed it down and I'll play it for you at the end. I'll play you normal speed and then slowed down speed and watch her lips, because basically the when is there, it's just not audible. So she's got when the kids get out of the fence, they came through here. She's not presenting a hypothetical situation. She's saying they did do this. They went through the fence, they came through here, and I didn't hear them. She says, I would have heard them yelling, come on, Jackie, let's go. I didn't hear anything. So what's interesting there is that she says, I would have heard, which takes it back to being a hypothetical situation. So the first part sounds like it is.
Sorry, I said I'll go back and play 2 minutes from last night where they referenced Janie not being believed by the RCMP about the raking story. And after we're done with this, so we got another 35 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 11 a.m. But let's just keep finishing this up about the rake, and then I'll play that clip where the police did not believe Janie about the rake.
Her saying something that actually happened. When the kids get out of the fence and came through here, I would have heard them yelling, come on, Jackie, let's go. I didn't hear anything. Now, obviously, she's trying to sell the idea that they did get out there. They must have got out there because they vanished, and the only way they could vanish is if they got out of the yard. But she's trying to say, I didn't hear anything. I know nothing. I have nothing to do with this. I know nothing. I saw nothing. So the reason that there's no agreement here in her statements is that on one hand, she's trying to separate herself from whatever happened. I didn't hear anything. But at the same time, at the start of what she's saying, she's referring to what happened. She's trying to give it as a hypothetical, but her brain has basically sabotaged her words so that it ended up coming out as a statement when the kids get out of the fence and came through here. Grammatically, what she's saying is all over the place here, which shows us that she is trying to tell us one thing, but the leakage is happening and the truth is coming out here. She's admitting that they definitely did get out of the fence and get onto the driveway.
When the kids get out of the fence and come out through here, when the kids get out of the fence and come out through here, when the kids get out of the fence and come out through here.
Well, let's not forget, this interview happened, 2 months after the kids disappeared? That fence had a big ass hole in it at the time. So they didn't get out that way, Janie. They got out through the gaping effing hole you irresponsible bunch of adults left for them to get through. And, I'm going to say something that I've never said before, but I'm not so sure that that fort, that they weren't locked in that fort, tied in that fort for a place to give mom and dad a mental break. Hence why Daniel ran up to the fort. I'm just saying, when I first saw that fort in the backyard that they played in, it had needles and shit in it, I'm not so sure that they weren't kept in there at times. I really, sounds horrible, but that's the first vibe I got when I saw that fort. And that's where Daniel ran to at first. Their little fort. Their fort was probably a place to tie them into so the parents could have a reprieve from them. Just my opinion. Potentially.
And to tell you the truth, if I was a child that was in a fence and got out of it and was running, yes, I would be excited to go. And those kids are always excited when they're running around because they're always screaming and hollering.
Now she starts with a hypothetical. If I was a child that was in a fence and got out of it and was running, I'd be excited to go. But then she flips it to talking about Lily and Jack.
Yeah. They probably ran away before from being confined in the places.
And those kids are always excited when they're running around because they're always screaming and hollering.
Yep.
To me, this definitely sounds like she is talking about them getting out of the fence and onto the driveway and running, screaming and hollering.
Hello, sweetie. I didn't know you were retired police officer, Terry. Happens so fast. Sometimes I need to get information. Interesting. So, Terry, are you interested in coming up and talking with us one day? I didn't know you were a retired police officer. Thank you. Do you think that it's possible that one of the kids was attacked by Janie's dog and that something happened in that laneway? But then why would they cover that up? Why would they cover that up? High House Music. Why wouldn't they just say that's what happened? Like, dogs bite kids all the time and the dog gets put down, right? In Canada, if your dog bites, Janie and DM have the cadence when they recite their script stories, so you can hear them talk now. Have you, Terry, that would be fantastic if you would want to come on, how much do you know about this case, and what do you think? Do you think that this was a cover-up? They walked out the back? If you're willing to say, that would be great. Second, Terry will try to. Okay. Okay, let's keep listening. Man, oh man, it just, to me, this is the glaring evidence in this laneway, and I don't understand if the dog attacked the kids, which is a possibility, or one of them. Why would they cover that up? It's not an adult's fault. And the dog, it happens in Canada and the dog gets put down. So I don't know why they would cover that up.
And that makes me ask a question about the previous statement where she said when the kids get out of the fence and came through here, I would have heard them yelling, "Come on, Jackie, let's go." I didn't hear anything. Is she, in fact, is that a bit of a Janie comment where, in fact, what she's trying to say is that, yeah, she heard them, but she didn't realize that they had gotten out of the fence?
Well, if you're interested in following, we're going back from the beginning here, and the statement that was made the night that the neighbors were said, it's in the police reports and the news reports, that the night before the kids were reported, I'm going to need to read everything before I can. Okay. Can you email me, honey? That would be, I would so appreciate that. That would be wonderful. I'll send you my email now. And if you're interested, that would be wonderful, because there's absolutely one of the very first statements was that people had seen the grandmother where the kids lived out the night before, out in the yard in the laneway, and she said at first she was filling in potholes, and then she said she was raking. In May 2nd in Canada, you're not raking for a swimming pool in Canada. There's not a chance in HELL. The weather is warm enough to rake. Yeah, even better that you know nothing about the case. Okay, so I said she should have said she was putting in the dog. Yeah, it would have been more believable, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad she said something that's not believable, Michelle, right? Same in America. If a dog bites a family member, automatically the dog's going to be put down. Exactly. So there's no reason. Hey, Donna, you typed it out wrong. You typed my email out wrong. There's no A there. There's no A at the beginning. Thank you. So I don't know why that would, if that happened, there's no reason to cover that up. If it happened, you just call the police, put the dog down, and off you go. Not that it's any less tragic for the child, but there's no reason to cover that up, which makes me believe that it wasn't the dog evidence she was raking up. May 2nd in Nova Scotia gets loads of snow. There's not a chance in HELL. You were raking for a pool, and you're not putting a pool in a muddy laneway on May 2nd. And it's illegal to have any pool accessible in Canada that's not fenced in because of liability. Let's just say this story was true. Let's just say they were raking for a pool in the laneway, and some other kid wandered off and drowned in the pool. They're liable. Google the date and time and location, and it will have that information. Yeah, I know we did the time for the weather. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So Pictou County weather, May 1st, the night before 2025. To trying to get, it's saying, as of today, January 3rd, 2026, the specific forecast for May 1st, 2025 in Pictou County is a historical data point, and precise daily forecasts are not typically available that far in the past through current weather services. However, based on historical averages for May in Pictou, you can expect cool and potential damp conditions. The daily high temperature ranges between 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, 50 to 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The daily lows are between 3 to 8 degrees Celsius and 37 to 46 degrees Fahrenheit. And the month generally sees breezy, damp conditions with chances of rain, occasional snow showers. So do you think you're swimming in 50 to 59 degree weather? Excuse me. As a kid. Hang on. I gotta get caught up. If there were rugs, they may have felt the need, especially. Yeah, it could be. A dog pulled the skin off my son's nose, basically mauled his face almost 90. Oh my God, it was put down before my son was released from the hospital. The doctor gave me the paper proof. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely not swimming. Exactly. So That is a lie. Okay, let's keep going because I'm dying here, so I got to finish this live here. Let's go.
Because the second statement definitely makes it sound like when they get out onto the driveway, they do make a lot of noise. Is it possible that when Janie's saying, I didn't hear anything, what she actually means is, I heard them, but I thought they were still in the yard, so I didn't pay any attention to it. Just a hypothetical, but just worth keeping in mind. But definitely, when you look at these two statements, she definitely seems to be referring specifically to Jack and Lilly getting out of the yard and into the driveway and running in the driveway. Is this why we get this garbled statement from Malaya about they're not the sort of kids that we tell them not to go outside or whatever it is she says? She's definitely trying to give the impression that Lily and Jack are never outside unsupervised. And of course, alongside all Janie's statements, that's a huge red flag.
If the kids were out in the yard by themselves, let's just say, and they get out of the gate and were running up the driveway, I would know, or I would think the kids would be saying, especially Lily, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, because that's all she ever did was say that.
So again, she starts it as a hypothetical, and you hear her talking in present tense. If the kids are out of the yard by themselves, let's just say, so she's saying, hypothetically, and they get out the gate. So at this point, the tense is in agreement with her presenting it as a hypothetical situation. If this happens and they get out the gate, but then she switches to past tense and goes on with and we're running up the driveway, I would know. Or I would think the kids would be saying, come on, Jackie, let's go, etc., all that stuff. So again, we have the talking about the driveway and talking about them hypothetically getting through the gate. But then it's all into past tense. Basically, she's saying, yeah, this happened. And you'll note that, once again, Tucker is in the background whining. Honestly, forget doing a polygraph examination with Janie. Just sit her in a room with her dog and ask her questions. And her dog will do a way better job than any polygraph exam. It really does seem that talking about the children getting into the driveway is a cause of stress for Janie.
One YouTuber asked why I was out digging potholes at 10 o'clock or filling potholes in at 10 o'clock at night. And they actually had someone drive by my house to see how dark it was at that time of night. Because people actually think that I dug holes in my driveway to bury the children. Now, if you've seen my driveway, how packed it is, I'm going to take the time and dig up my driveway. Like, how ridiculous can people be?
So first of all, she's so determined here to basically say people are stupid if they think I was digging up my driveway to bury the children. She's so determined to stick that out that she forgot that the narrative changed from filling in potholes to raking ground for a swimming pool. So she's gone back to the original story, which, if you were around at the very beginning, you will remember that is what we heard in the first place, that Janie was out late at night filling in potholes in her driveway. And then we get this audio coming out in July or August where all of a sudden she's labelling the ground for a swimming pool. Completely changed what she's saying, which is really interesting. But what she starts saying here is even more interesting, because she said that a YouTuber asked why I was out digging potholes or filling potholes at 10 o'clock at night.
Thank you,
So you've
Terry.
got the same situation here that we saw with Daniel when he was talking about handing over his phone to the RCMP. He gave this story that he volunteered, he offered them his phone. He handed it over to them willingly and it was his idea. But then in another interview, he basically is trying to gaslight Malaya. So he tells the reporter that, yeah, they seized both our phones. So he shot himself in the foot. So after working hard to pitch this story about a swimming pool, Janie has reverted back to the filling potholes. But she's completely forgotten that that's not the story here. But what's super interesting is that she slips up and she first of all says digging potholes and then switches to filling potholes at 10 o'clock at night. And she goes on with, people actually think I dug holes in my driveway to bury the children. So after that original slip up where she says they wanted to know why I was digging potholes and then filling potholes at 10 o'clock at night, this statement here, people...
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm saying. Was she digging up blood evidence and then raking over it? No pressure on Terry. No pressure on Terry. It would be lovely if you could come in and talk to us about some of it. That would be great. But just send me an email if you can. That'd be great.
Actually think I dug holes in my driveway to bury the children. She's not saying she never dug any holes. She's just saying she didn't dig holes for the purpose of burying the children. So is it leakage? Because literally what she has said here is, yes, I dug holes, but I didn't bury the children in the driveway. I dug holes in the driveway for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has to double down on this. She says, I'm going to take the time and dig up my driveway. Like, how ridiculous could people be? This statement completely lacks impact for two reasons. First of all, she hasn't put any negative in there. She hasn't said as if I'm going to take the time to dig up my driveway. She's actually literally said, I'm going to take the time to dig up my driveway. So to me, it sounds like it's leakage, especially because, like I said, there are two things that make this statement a little bit
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Because after saying, I'm going to take the time to dig up my driveway, she says, like, how ridiculous could people be? Like is always a red flag for me. It's a filler. She's stalling while she comes up.
I love Texas. I used to be a coach with Keller Williams International, so I used to go down to Austin all the time, and I love Texas. So yeah, if you want to come on, Terry, someday, that would be wonderful. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this case. It's just wild. It's a sad case, and we really want closure. Okay, Ryder's getting impatient. We're going to wrap this up in 10 minutes, everybody. 15 minutes.
With the next part of the statement.
Okay, honey.
Now, obviously, those children are not buried in that driveway. The ground is far too heavily compacted to dig a hole big enough or deep enough. But it is interesting that she's slipped up and talked about digging potholes. And then when she's trying to gaslight people and say how stupid they are for thinking that she's digging holes in her driveway, she literally says, I'm going to dig holes in my driveway.
Nothing.
So is it absurd to think that she could be digging potholes?
We got no charges. Jack and Lilly Sullivan, the two kids on the screen here, went missing. Were reported missing the day after Janie was raking for a pool, May 2nd, 2025, last spring. We're 9 months into them being missing, or 8 months. The police, the RCMP, have said that the 7 polygraphs that were given, they never asked them about anything other than 4 questions about unaliving. They follow the parents' narrative publicly, saying that the parents said the kids just walked out the back door and got lost in the backwoods. And they continue to defend the parents' position, saying that the 7 polygraph tests that were showing that they were all being honest and truthful, and they don't have any evidence other than the parents' narrative that they just walked out the back door and got lost in the bush. 2 of them. Both said to be potentially mildly autistic kids. As per mom, they were living in a rundown trailer in Pictou, Nova Scotia, very, very rural. And they, stepdad, who they were living with, is admitted to being a meth addict. And CPS was visiting the house already for abuse and neglect with these 2 kids, from bruises. Yeah, it's a really small town. It is. Exactly. Michelle says, I did not mean to bring this up to see if you noticed, are both DM and Janie pack rats, so that they like to collect. This signifies to me maybe he didn't throw the kids away like the ocean recently. I don't know. Janie could have even taken the top layer off the drain laneway and basically thrown it all over the road, which would have contaminated in the dogs. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So we're going back to the beginning here, just trying to look at it from the beginning, because if you want to go back to the very beginning of this live, there's been 2 recent reports from the RCMP in Pictou County. One made by the provincial police chief for the RCMP, basically summing up, the last statement he makes is they passed the polygraphs. They were being truthful, and they've been following the narrative publicly that the kids just walked out the back door. for months now, but they also have a $250,000 reward out, which they put out June 19th. The kids went missing May 2nd. We also found here, Terry, a report that another YouTuber came up with that I don't think she got legally. And we only showed it here for 30 seconds, but it comes about the same time frame, I believe, around June. And it's a signature by one of the official police saying it doesn't look like the kids walked about the back door. So the official narrative publicly has been, we believe the parents, they walked out the back door. We don't have any lie detector tests to prove otherwise. But unofficially, the report says they don't look like they walked out the back door. And we have a $150,000 reward, which in Canada is not given very frequently. But at this point in time, we still have, sounds like the police wasn't able to, exactly. That's exactly what I've been saying, Terry, from the get-go. In fact, I lost my shit because I have, I don't know how much you believe in psychic mediums. I volunteer with the Find Me group. He's a retired, Kelly Snyder of the Find Me group is a retired Secret Service agent and started the Find Me group. He's in Arizona, if you've heard of him. And I volunteer with them. And I work as a psychic, and for the Find Me group, volunteer. And I've been talking to 3 officers of the RCMP. And I was emailing at one point, and the lead officer that I was working with got promoted. Kids get hungry fast and normally don't go that far. Yeah, that's exactly, especially in May. And the density of the bush out there is incredible. So, and said to not like bugs, by the parents' own admission. So how far do they really go? And they've searched and searched and searched with canines, copters, drones, and found no bodies of the kids in the backyard. None. Okay, so I volunteer with Terry with Kelly in for the Find Me group. And so I've been getting visions from the beginning, and one of the police officers that I was working with, Mike Wilson, was removed from the case. And another officer was put on the case, and I had been emailing and texting and speaking with Mike directly. And the evidence that I was giving him, he was tracking because it was stuff that wasn't coming out publicly that we would later learn, and he was sending it up the chain. And then this other guy took the case over, and he was away from his desk for an entire month off the case, not receiving any email leads. And I lost my shit publicly because I said, this is not effing acceptable. The Canadian RCMP report to the federal government, and if anybody can get more resources, it's them. And that they don't have enough manpower on this case. So you're exactly right. That's exactly what I said. And lo and behold, Mike Carney came out and said he's hiring 1,000 more RCMP officers. Polygraph is not trash. It's only as good as the guy or the person giving the polygraph. You have to have a lot of these base questions. Yeah. So they only asked them 4 questions on whether they unalived the kids. I think the kids were taken and removed because mom, the biological mother of these kids, we learn later, was trying to get herself out of the meth addict's home and abuse. And he was abusive, and there were CPS reports. So, I don't believe the narrative they walked out the back door. And I don't think the RCMP do either anymore. They just don't seem to have any reliable evidence. That's very cool that you've heard of Kelly Snyder. He's was on here, I thought it was a year ago. It was last April. He came on here when we were talking about another case. You can go check that out in my channel. Kelly Snyder. I asked him to come and talk about Jack and Lilly, but he's got too much going on right now. Yeah, you have to ask a lot of base questions. That's exactly right. And they only asked them if they were unalived the kids. Nothing else. So maybe family in the police department. Well, that's what we were wondering. I could tell you something privately that I was talking about earlier with Donna, but I won't say it to anybody else because it's not information I want to give out, but it does make me wonder about that. There sort of seems to be 2 prongs in that investigative office, one sort of in alignment with the family and one maybe not. Yeah. Well, we talked about filicide here too, and Malaya was wanting to leave the stepdad, Daniel, the known meth addict, and that's where they were living on the trailer on the stepfather's property. And then 2 days after they went missing, biological mom packed up and left and has not really been heard of since. So I work with an attorney here in Houston. Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting. Good for you. Okay, let's finish this up. But I think lack of resources and possibly the lack of proper training for a small unit like that has probably hampered this investigation significantly.
In her driveway as opposed to filling potholes? Just put a pin in that for just one moment.
So I came back here. Me and Justin came back here to the trailer. Marlea was standing on the edge of the driveway, crying her eyes out. I went up and I put my arms around her and I said, please don't tell me that they found the kids dead.
Yeah, no, this is kind of the Cliff Notes version of a lot of what I've said before in longer videos about the driveway. But what I've pointed out before with this is that she's supposedly talking about the altercation at the end of the driveway here. But what she has actually said in terms of Malaya is that Malaya is standing on the edge of the driveway crying. And then Janie makes this statement that just sounds so out of place when she says, don't tell me they've found the children no longer alive. I think everyone who has discussed that comment has said how odd it sounds and how out of place it sounds for Janie to be saying that to Malaya.
No, they are dirt broke. I'll show you their trailer. They are dirt broke. They own a lot of land there, and it's very rural. I'll just show this quickly. They have a lot of land, but they don't have money. This is the home in question we're talking about right here. Right here. That's where the kids disappeared from. And the density of the bush. And where this car is parked now, there's actually the mother's RV back here along this side edge. This is an older picture from Google. But yeah. Like hillbillies. Look up how quickly they found the little boy yesterday. I know. Yeah, it's true. And I don't understand. And filicide, we talked about filicide here too, but filicide would have been Malaya. That's the mother killing their children. And I just don't see it. So Malaya, also for Terry, they have a child between them. Jack and Lilly are her kids from another relationship. They have one bio child together, Meadow, that was living with them in the trailer. But to me, if mom was involved and mom wanted to get her kids out of there, she didn't have to plan an escape for these kids or plan a story. They weren't biologically his. She could have just taken them out and said, F you, Daniel, I'm going to fight for custody for Meadow with you because you're a math head. So to me, it doesn't make sense that mom was involved in the removal of her own two children. She didn't have to stage anything from this math head stepdad because they weren't his kids. So that narrative makes no sense to me. It doesn't. But we got 15 minutes left and then I'm going to wrap this up.
Malaya standing on the edge of the driveway in tears.
Oh, and I also in my interview told them that if they want to come take up my driveway, or if they want to come lift my trailer, or lift the RV, or anything they wanted to do, they were more than welcome to come and do it.
I'm not standing in their way. I told them that they're more than welcome here anytime to do whatever they want to this property. If they want to tear up my driveway to see if the kids are there, they can go ahead. If they want to lift my trailer, the big trailer up in the air and look under that. If they want to lift my RV and look up underneath that.
So you've got two instances here where she is quite...
We were just talking about that yesterday. about, or the day before, because of the 2 missing girls in Texas, about the Ladybird killer theory, which is also Austin. I don't know if that's Houston or not, but you think there's a serial killer and the mayor won't even hear about it. Isn't that interesting? It's not good for tourism or for the financial, you know. But okay, I got to get focused on this. Let's get back on this.
Confidently stating that she's got no problems with the RCMP rocking up and digging up her driveway or lifting the RV or lifting the trailer. It's the same as Daniel as 100% certain that the dogs won't find anything. This belief that there's nothing to find here on the property, so fill your boots. If you want to dig up the driveway, come and dig up the driveway. If you want to lift my RV, lift my RV. But you're not going to find anything. That's essentially what she's saying. And you'll notice the fluency here is there's nothing wrong with it at all. She's quite confident in saying this. There's no problems with agreeance in tense or anything like that. It comes out as a natural statement. She's literally got no problems with the RCMP tearing her property apart. Now, when Janie spoke to the RCMP, there was no mention of digging potholes, filling in potholes, or raking the ground for a swimming pool. The only thing she said about Thursday was that the children didn't go to school. They were in the yard playing through the day, and she gave them snacks. She's referring to before they went into town. So this is in the morning, essentially. She's saying they were in the yard playing in the morning, because obviously after they got back in the afternoon, that's not through the day, that's in the afternoon or evening. So there's no reference from Janie about Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening. Now I'm going to do a complete change of direction here, which may seem confusing, but I will explain shortly. So when Justin Smith spoke to the RCMP and he spoke about hearing a vehicle, he said he was up until around 1 a.m. on Facebook. Around 1:30 a.m. he heard a car on Highway 289 turn around by the railroad tracks near the area of Gerlock Road and Lansdowne Station Road. It made noise, then went quiet. The vehicle was quiet for about 2 minutes, then drove towards Legg Road. Now, we now know, after I went through a bunch of articles, and it was the Globe and Mail who interviewed Justin, and he told them that he was staying at that campground. Now, I'll come back to that momentarily. Now, with statements from Brad Wong, we have him saying that the vehicle would drive off in the distance and he could hear it stop and then return. He said it remained in earshot the entire time. Now, first of all, I want to point out that when you are inside a house, yes, you can hear kind of vaguely which direction a vehicle is coming from or going to, but it would be impossible, unless you have Superman hearing, to be precise in terms of the where that vehicle is travelling, where it's turning around and stuff like that. So obviously their statements are approximations. It sounded like this is what was going on. Now, I put the red pin where the campground is.
Whoops. Okay, well, that was not intended. Hang on. Hang on. Maybe that's, maybe it's time to end that. Maybe it's time to end that. I don't know what happened. Hang on.
Now, the boot, we thinking, or where he's thinking, what if Brad's confusion over Justin thought that Daniel was turning around on the train lines and
Let's
actually
go back to where I was. Hang on, sorry.
So is it possible that aside from the usual dead, he wasn't dismantling?
Sorry, everybody. I don't know what happened there.
Than what they dismantling. It looks like there's areas of the driveway. What you have here is a photo from positive of. So roughly statements are approximations. It sounded like this is what was going on. Now I put the red pin where the campground is. So that's about 1 kilometre away from Gerlock Road. If you go straight across from Gerlock Road to Lansdowne Station Road, then you have where Brad Wong is. Now, from the location where Justin is, obviously he can only guess
Thank you.
at the location where the vehicle was turning around, where it was stationary.
Yeah, that's what I think.
He's thinking it's about that distance. So roughly where the train lines are. Brad just knows that it stayed within earshot, but when you look at his statement to the RCMP and what he said since, it seems that he's perhaps a little uncertain over exactly how many trips the car made. We know he was seeing the headlights over the tops of the trees, which makes sense. But was he seeing the headlights every single time that he thought the car was leaving Gerlock Road? Because I think that for both Brad and Justin, the best they can be positive of, unless they were actually able to go and stand on Gerlock Road and watch the vehicle, is that it was travelling in one direction and then it was travelling in another direction. You would know that because the sound would get louder and softer. Now, thankfully, there were a number of media outlets that were quite interested in this case. And also, of course, Daniel, who was quite keen to talk to the media. So what you have here is a photo from one of the articles that was done in the early days.
That's a good point.
Where Daniel is showing them the location of the boot print that was found. Now, you can see the pile of rocks behind him, which is presumably the pile of rocks that eventually ended up in that nice, neat stack next to the bank. But what really stands out to me here is that the whole area is full of potholes.
Yeah, so this is where the pool was supposed to go. Right here where she was raking, where this puddle is. There's the pool. That's why she was raking, and you're making a good point, Terry. Maybe they were raking the evidence of the car coming in and going the laneway into the laneway the night before.
There's been no potholes filled in. And then when you look at the drone shot, and we know this is one of the first photos taken of the property because the fence hasn't been finished, but when you look at this drone shot, it looks like there's areas of the driveway that have essentially been gouged out. Now, there's one spot over by the very side of the driveway where it looks like maybe someone has raked some of the bank down and covered that one spot. But the rest of it, it's a mess. There's
Exactly,
potholes everywhere.
Terry.
There's gouged holes everywhere.
Exactly.
So that brings me to this question. Now, I know a lot of people have speculated that maybe all the trips that Daniel was doing was because he was dismantling his mathematics laboratory. I actually don't think that is the case, because if he had a mathematics laboratory, then he would be getting money from other people. He would have things to show for it, because when someone has a laboratory of their own, then obviously they're making more than what they use. They're getting money in. It's apparently, allegedly, quite a profitable business. We see no sign of this. They were mooching off Patty. Earl was buying them groceries. And you can bet that the RCMP, having got their bank records, will have gone through their bank records with a fine-tooth comb. And if there was any evidence of any business, then by now Daniel would be locked up. So if he wasn't dismantling things to get to hide them, what other reason could there be for all those trips? Well, like I said, we have all these holes in the driveway. Janie Evans slipped up and said that she was out digging potholes and then corrected it to filling potholes. She claims she was raking the ground to level it out for a pool, but clearly that wasn't happening. So is it possible that, aside from the usual wear and tear on the driveway, that some of these holes, the ones that look like they've been gouged out as opposed to just wear and tear, are the result of someone removing the top layer of the driveway and disposing it somewhere? What if Justin thought that Danny was turning around on the train lines, and actually the location he was turning around was not quite, maybe still on the train lines, but not exactly in the location where we're all thinking or where he's thinking? What if Brad's confusion over just how many trips there were stems from maybe the vehicle did start coming back in his direction, but not towards Gerlock Road? And yes, that is Mouse and Jasper wrestling their way from one end of the house to the other, just in case you were wondering what the crazy noises were in the background. Down on Lansdowne Station Road, before you head up the hill towards Brad Wong's place, you have this little quarry. It is actually right near the train lines. You actually have to cross the train lines to get into the quarry. Hypothetically, if you needed to remove substances from a gravel driveway, then an ideal location to take the bit of gravel that you dug out would be to dump it in a quarry. No one would ever think anything of it. So was Janie digging out potholes at 10 o'clock at night. And then amongst his other trips, Daniel was dumping what she was digging out in this quarry. Because distance-wise, this would fit with Justin's description. In terms of what Brad was saying, it could explain the confusion over how many trips the car did, because it would sound like it was coming back towards him and then going away again. So one trip could actually have sounded like 2 different trips. Now, obviously, this is just all speculation, but I do find it curious that Janie went from the original story of filling or digging potholes to raking gravel for a swimming pool. And then when she slips up and refers again to the potholes, she's talking about digging potholes as opposed to filling them. And we have all these trips in the vehicle, which do fit with driving to this quarry. You have that one section of the driveway where it does look like Janie basically raked it out of the bank to cover a hole. Was that the
Terry, I have said here in talking to, I've talked to 3 RCMP officers, and one of them told me, I'm not going to divulge which one. This was what, 2 months ago, maybe, when I went live with my RCMP call. I lost my SHIT on him because he was away for a month. I'm like, how can you be covering a case when you're fucking away for a month? Excuse my language. Anyways, all that to say, I then had 2 subsequent conversations with 2 other RCMP officers after that. And I'm not going to disclose who, but one of them told me, this is just 2 months ago, Terry, that they didn't have a clue what happened to the kids. And that's exactly right. I do believe what you're saying is true. They don't want to come out and say they don't have enough and clue. Yeah, this is, yes, the royal, yes, because that's who covers, that's who's taking care of the case. So the RCMP are the ones in charge of this case. Yes. Yeah. And the officers that I talked to are the crime unit investigators. So yeah.
plan for the whole driveway, and things kind of went pear-shaped when the RCMP didn't buy their story about the children wandering off. Because when you look at the lack of preparation in their stories and the fact that really they only worked on a story for Friday morning, it seems like these guys were clueless. They really didn't think that the RCMP wouldn't buy their story of the children wandering off into the woods. So was it the plan to dig out some of the areas of gravel that needed to be gotten rid of before the RCMP came, and then when things quietened down, just fix the driveway up again? And they didn't realise that it was going to blow up like it did. Obviously, this is just hypothetical, but when you look at the way Janie talks about the driveway, there's definitely something to it. But of course, the question is, what? What is the significance of Janie digging or filling potholes at 10 o'clock at night? And does it somehow connect with
in the dark
that were made in the mystery car, which most of us believe was Daniel?
So let's listen to the next little bit here. Thank you, Anne. We're going to listen to where it was believed yesterday, you were saying that this is 2 other creators. I'm going to play just a couple minutes here where a lot of the family has been coming out and doing interviews on the Women on the Rights channel. And this is just last night's stream. And apparently, Anne, thank you, on Shannon's channel, it was said that the RCMP told Janie they did not believe her laneway raking story. So let's listen to this for a couple minutes.
To see the cameras, what do they call them, the vest cameras from the police officers that were there that day. I can only imagine what they must have witnessed. I wonder how long it took for the penny to drop for them to realize, hang on a minute, this is not 2 children that wandered off into the woods. Something tells me it was right around on the dispatch when you hear them say, go back and get a better statement from the mom, because none of this is making sense.
Right. Oh, and don't forget, let's not forget that the police said, we don't believe you, Janie.
Yeah.
So basically, again, so that was on the ground right at the start when Janie's trying to explain it, right? And, we'll say, news on the ground. Over here, the RCMP, and I'm not talking about Globe and Mail when I say this, okay? Here's RCMP saying, we don't believe your story, Janie, because it doesn't make sense. We don't believe you because it doesn't make sense, because we all know it's a bunch of nonsense. So you legit have the RCMP saying, yeah, we don't believe you. Well, how do you think we feel? Like mother, like son, right? Where do you think Daniel, got all this from? A lot of this personality of his.
Well, you look at Janie and Darren, or sorry,
Earl.
Darren. Oh my God. Never mind that combination. That would
Yeah.
be so sorry. Janie and Earl,
well,
he was so aggressive. I tried to give him some benefit at the beginning.
Okay. So that's a wrap. The RCMP don't believe Janie's raking story, and neither do we. And I tend to believe with you, Terry, and as a retired officer of 18 years, I think you said, police officer for 18 years, that story doesn't, sound legitimate either, as you've stated here. Earl is something else. Yeah, there's a whole wild family here. It's a whole. They also, the father's family, Earl, and Janie, Please Bring Me Home went back out 2 months ago, maybe now, to go and search again. And they refused to allow the searchers onto their property, the stepdad's family's property. So not exactly cooperating in the search for these missing kids either. So, okay, everybody, thank you for being here. We've been in here for 3.5 hours. Please do all the YouTubey things. Thank you, Terry. I'd love to see if you can come on and we can talk about this. It would be great. I appreciate you all for being here. I'm going to go rest up, and we're going to be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. going through the Jack and Lilly case. We got to keep the pressure on, keep their face out there, and keep hoping and praying that the RCMP are looking into this in the background. Still working the case. Okay, everybody, love and light. See you tomorrow. Have a great day.